So thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. It's a beautiful Monday evening, right? Thank God, thank God it's Monday, Shay. All right. So earlier we're listening to the video we just put up on YouTube, unmasking the prophetic fraud behind Peter Obi and 2023 election. 1 second. Yeah, unmasking the prophetic fraud behind Peter Obi and the 2023 election. So please check it out. It's on YouTube. It's Busri Ori's YouTube channel. You'll be able to see that particular video. All right. Thank you very much for being here. 1 second, please. All right. I hope you're good. Thank you very much for joining us. Lovely Monday. We had a wonderful weekend. How's everybody at home? How's the family? Daddy, mommy, uncle, auntie, husband, wife, children. All right. We've covered a lot of grounds. Yeah. So we are at 52.2k likes right now on TikTok, and that's because some people have decided to support us by power tapping and sharing the live. So I want to thank you so much for your support. Thank you. So to those who have been power tapping, thank you very much for your support. And I want to mention some names very quickly. Folks like Akadol, thank you so much, Akadol. CEO Coded Eshel, thank you so much. Akiomwaki, Koboko, right, Ibojinodu, everyone, thank you so very much for your support. Thanks for power tapping and liking the live. These things help the live a lot, right? That's the way TikTok works. So please, let's engage, let's power tap, and let's like the live together. I knew something was wrong. What's happened? All right, we're good. So it's Monday. We have some things to cover, and I also want us to begin a new series. We're going to be reading a book together. It's a story. It's a book about somebody's story. We've talked about it a number of times. We've said one day we're going to read that book together. So today I think will be the day. Even if we don't finish it today, which I don't think we will be able to, of course, depending on how much time we spend on the news. But I think it's a story we should all read together. It's Balogun Oderinlo in Yoruba history by Niya Borishade. All right. The book is available on Redomi Books on Telegram. And we're going to read this together today. All right. It's a fantastic book. One of the things that even spurred me was, people say things like, people in Ibadan are from different places, which is true. Ibadan is made up of Yoruba people from people from different parts of Yoruba land, So it's quite interesting. Oderinlo originally was actually from Ife. His father was from Ife, and then they moved to Ilorin, and eventually he got to Ibadan. We'll discuss all that today when we read this book, and I think it's going to help us understand some of the things that happened in our past. At some point, maybe this month or next, we'll do something on Kirijiwo, like Prof requested last month. So we'll do that as well. But for today, we'll read this book after we've done the news. So let's get started with the news. So what are we discussing today? Fayose apparently has an electricity theory that, I don't think philosophers, physicists, or engineers ever thought about, but apparently is taking us into deep spaces. So we're going to look at the speech or the statement that Fayose made. That's Ayo Fayose now, former governor of Ekiti State. And the statement he made a few days ago, we'll talk about that. We'll also look at what's happening in Kano, some interesting news from Kano. We will discuss that as well. And of course, the interview that the NRS chairman, Mr. Adedeji had on Channels TV. Clips from that interview has been making. I've been making the rounds as well. So we're going to look at um, that topic as well. But I think we should begin with the former governor of Ekiti State, Governor Peter Ayodele Fayose. He is now the DG of the Rural Electrification, is a project or agency? It's agency, Rural Electrification Agency, right? So he has some interesting things to say about what happens after 7 p.m. if there's no electricity. Sometimes you don't think about things like this, and then somebody says, you're like, is it true? Anyway, take a listen to Peter Fayose.
Electricity. The people at that level have no alternative attraction. Nothing else matters to them after 7 o'clock. It gets dark, everybody is engaging their wives. And the population simply becomes double. The simple problem is because there's lack of electricity. People go to bed early. Their mind is simply prepared that, well, if this is the only available recreation, let me remain here. But when we address this electricity, there will be nightlife. There will be recreation outside.
The other day, the lingo we got from Fayose was stomach infrastructure. Now, he has given us another one. So the reason for population explosion in Nigeria is lack of electricity, apparently. And once we fix that, population, the figures should come down. I don't know if I should laugh or if I should, ask questions. But I'll say this. I don't know how he arrived at that, inference, but I think number one, is it not Rural Electrification Agency that they put the former governor as chairman of? Is it going to be the chairman? Is the chairman now? Is the chairman of Rural Electrification Agency? Which nightlife are you? It's rural areas, though. Abi, we are in there. Maybe they're going to be sports. Sure. The point is, we need to be able to elevate conversations in Nigerian political discourse, right? When we're talking about things, people just stay at this very kekere level. A lot of people have criticized what he said, whether it is true that we are like this because, people have a lot of sex because there's no light. Let me tell you something. I have what I want to say, but somehow I don't want to. I don't really want to. Let me say it this way, because sometimes you're like, let's just talk. But let's talk. Let's say something. You see, this. I hope that when people have opportunities to serve in government, that they actually know exactly what that position is about, and that they're actually prepared to do it. And I know that he has done some good stuff in the past, so I hope that he's bringing the experience and his tenacity and will and those good stuff into the office. But I just don't think that the conversation should be at the level of people having sex because there's no light. If there's no light, there's population explosion in some parts of the world where there is light 24/7. I don't want to mention those ones. If I do, you will tell me that it's not the locals. CEO says, Prof, there's no data to back this off, but he may be right though. Yeah, so it may be. Let me just say there's no data to back it up. When you say it may be right, okay, so do people really go home after? Do people in villages go home after 7 o'clock? To be honest, I just wanted you to listen to it. I don't want to really comment on it because what I have in mind is more like a critique. and I already said it the mildest way possible. A lot of conversations. Number one, your job is not about, your job is focused on rural electrification. So you're not really doing much in towns and cities. Number two, you don't have data for this whole connection between population explosion and lack of electricity. Number three, is that really what we're supposed to be talking about in terms of what rural electrification can achieve for a society? If you are in charge of rural electrification, I would be thinking more of productivity. Forget sex. I mean, tell us the things that we can do with this stuff. Forget what happens at night. If, for instance, you go to the farms and they're able to say they have, I mean, one of the challenges that we have in the agricultural sector is lack. I mean, is perish is what's the right word? Is the fact that many perishable fruits and vegetables are is because there is no truckload of oranges, and then sometimes it takes a while to even get out, and then it gets spoiled on the way and those other things. If you have electricity in those rural areas, they're able to refrigerate. You are coming in to become the chairman of Rural Electrification Agency. I think that you'll be talking about, oh, this is what this thing can help us achieve in terms of productivity for our farmers, in terms of the fact that we're able to stop young people from, we're able to stop rural urban migration because more people can stay back in the villages and enjoy essentially what people are enjoying in town, which has to do with, maybe the nightlife that you mentioned, like entertainment and stuff. Therefore, more young people will be able to stay back home and work in their farms and do things. I was expecting something deep, not just people reduce conversations to banter as if we're, just having fun. There should be like a structured, you know, vision plan or something. Like, okay, if we do this, we'll get this. If we do this, we'll get that. That kind of thing. I'm not saying you should go deep. It's not manifesto, but at least tell us what this rural electrification agency will do to help people in rural areas. But the talking point everybody got out of that thing is the fact that people will not be sleeping with each other after 7 o'clock once there's light. Well, let me ask a question right in the comment section. If you think about rural electrification, this is not the first time we're having the agency, by the way. So what do you think is, spend some time there. What else do you think? I've talked about, it can stop rural urban migration. It can help with preserving farm produce. I mean, there are many other things I'm sure you must have thought of. I'm just saying that I would expect that the conversation will be at that level. But the kind of politics what they do for this country, people just say all kinds of things. Almost like the courses I should check. YouTube is a very vast space. So what am I checking on YouTube? Say check YouTube. Someone says isolated mini solar grids. Okay, that could be one of the ways to achieve rural electrification. Okay. Oh, I should check a live stream. Okay. 1 second, please. Thank you very much. Whoa. That could be one of the ways to achieve. Yeah, YouTube is not bad though. There was a little glitch earlier, but it was from the app. I hope it's better now. You can't find me. We are streaming. Some people are there already. Busui Oris. Please check it out. Let's just wait for a second to make sure we're good on YouTube. It's streaming actually. Someone says access to stable power to boost local production in rural areas. Abi, and if you have factories and companies being able to do all those things in the rural areas because electricity was there, that means that number one, àwọn lè parí school kan dúró kó má wọlé wá sí gbòòrò, àwọn tó wà gbòòrò kan tún lè padà sílé There are many people, for instance, who are in our cities who, if we're really being truthful with ourselves, they have no business being in Lagos or being in town. All right, because maybe they have skills that are better, that will be better utilized in those places. All right, all these people, for instance, who are carrying Okada all the way from Kano to Lagos, if there's light where they come from, maybe they will have something to do. Of course, there's also the issue of bandits. That's another matter on its own. But in some areas where they don't have that issue, where people keep moving, spaces like that will help. Someone says improve security. Anyway, our politicians have a way of. I think, guys, you should go and get involved in politics, eh? God, I don't like complaining like this. Because you just say, okay, so where are the people who actually studied and did all these things and can speak English? Well, beyond English, that can actually produce something. But I don't know if you can produce a lot if you're not even talking about the things that you're thinking of producing. I don't think because there's nothing to measure. There's nothing to measure because you have no goals. You see, if you have no plan to go anywhere, wherever you get to is your destination, because there was no plan in the first instance, right? So you can, anywhere you face is okay. But this tells what you want to do now. Anyway, this is not to judge him because we don't even know what's up yet. We'll see how that goes, and hopefully, people in rural areas will be better for it. The appointment of the former governor of Ekiti State. All right. Someone says, Prof, quick question. How are you doing about your indigenous Igbo or Igbo of Osun State, Davido? So, one of the things that all of us have to do with the next generation is we have to be more intentional when we raise our kids when it comes to the issue of identity. I saw the video you're referring to. Okay, let me finish this story, then I'll go to that story that you're talking about. What are you, Prof? Let me tell one good story before I go to that Davido thing. I'll see if I can find you that video, by the way. So while we have some issues with what Fayose may have said, and hopefully we'll get the good results that I hope he promises at some point. Beyond people not having children, at past 7, there's good news from JAMB. JAMB resolves 5,000 complaints in 5 days. So of course you know that JAMB, also that's Joint Admission Matriculations Board. They have a new DG, Professor Segun Aino. So I'm going to read this report. Something really cool came out of JAMB yesterday. Well, last week, but this news is from yesterday. The newly appointed registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, Professor Segun Aino, has taken a service delivery drive to the front line, personally relocating to the board's Servicom unit to tackle thousands of unresolved complaints from candidates. Professor Aino's intervention has already yielded results, with more than 5,000 pending complaints reportedly resolved within 5 days following his directive for the Service Compact with All Nigerians, Servicom unit to address candidates' grievances promptly and holistically. A statement by JAMB's Acting Director of Public Affairs and Protocol, Dr. Fabian Benjamin, said the registrar had further directed Servicom desk officers to handle complaints comprehensively and without delay. Dr. Benjamin said the move is part of the registrar's resolve to strengthen the board's relationship with its clients, particularly candidates seeking admission into tertiary institutions, and ensure that services delivered by examination bodies are commensurate with the fees paid by candidates. The man, by the way, Professor Segun, when he got into office last week, he came up with what he called 5 enduring pillars, and this particular one is what he calls service at heart. So I guess he has decided to start with that particular one, which is quite lovely. All right. So it's good news, and we're glad that we have something like that from jam. I remember those days, but we thank God for grace. Yes, no, now. So let's talk about this Davido matter that Omo Saleko brought up. So here's the thing. We have to be more intentional in raising our children when it comes to ethnic identity. And I think that some people don't. Now, when he said his Igbo he even said he's half Igbo, then he said, but his mother is also Edo. He's confused. And I'll tell you why. His father will not say he's half Yoruba. That generation seems to know exactly how life works. Let me also say this. We don't have half anything. This half that people are always crying all over the place is foreign. No? It doesn't mean you're not going to acknowledge where your mother came from or where else you are related with, but you know who you are. Okay? Let me ask you a question. Maybe this will even help us. I'll see if I can find you that video. Just a question, everybody. What's the ethnicity of Shango? Anybody can help. Or knowing full well, I'm sure you know that his mother was not Yoruba. Shango the Alafin, the mother was not Yoruba. So, what ethnicity? What would you call his ethnic identity? Would you call him half Yoruba? Exactly. Thank you, Bumblebee. Thank you, CEO. You say he's Yoruba. You don't go all over the place trying to explain stupidity by saying things like, I'm half Yoruba, I'm half Nupe, I'm half Guinea, I'm half... Nobody asks you question. You don't get into certain places. People are just very frivolous about identity. Just say, I'm half. This is not America. And you cannot talk about Shango without acknowledging where his mother is from. So it's not like you're trying to hide that part of you. You don't want the world to know. It's nothing to be ashamed of if you really think about it, because this is what I say to people who have parentage of maybe they have dual ethnicity in terms of father is from here, mother is from here. You can have the best of both worlds, right? You can have the best of both worlds where you know you're Yoruba, but the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, the mother is Edo. I think the surname is Omorige. I've ever heard him say he's half Yoruba. Because when you start using the word half to the Yoruba mind, he's saying something else. So that's another thing. We have to also understand our own culture. In Yoruba, when you use the word half in the way people use it in terms of identity, what you are saying is actually very deep and is borderline illegitimacy without me having to say it in Yoruba because it's too harsh in Yoruba. So if you ask me, what do I think about it? I think he's still young. And by the way, when I say young, it's not like he's a baby. He's a father, so it's not like Kamakikere. But, young in terms of understanding how ethnic identity works. You can be proud of where you come from without having to... You can be proud of the fact that you have different... you got parents from different ethnicities without having to say, I am here. It's like somebody asked me, where am I from? Will I say I'm from my father's town, from my mother's town? Even though they are both Yoruba? Of course not now. But does that mean that I can't go to my mother's town and, be able to do certain things there and they will even welcome me? Of course they welcome me. But even there, they will tell me exactly where I'm from. The only way and the only time that I have seen Yoruba culture where people say things like, your mother's house, just say you are one of us, is two things. Number one, let's say maybe you're getting chieftaincy title or whatever used through your mother's line in some Yoruba towns like that. Even in Lagos, the Oba stool is actually like that. All right? It's the daughter of Obado. Our children, our sons are the ones who have been Oba since for a long time actually. I was going to say for centuries, but more than 100 years. Really think about it. Okay, so it's possible that way. Another one is if the mother's family, raised the boy. Okay, in fact, in some cases they even give him, or the child, maybe a boy, maybe a girl, they may even give him the family surname. So, and there's nothing wrong with any of those. That's why I say that if a person's mother is Yoruba, you can't say they're not Yoruba. However, it's not like the person will be saying, I'm half this, I'm half that. Don't be confused. Just choose one thing and embrace whatever you want to embrace. I don't even know. This is not supposed to be difficult though. Where are you from? I am this. But I also have connection with people from here. Well, I think it's an American thing. This colonized whatever is affecting us, the way we talk about these things. It's a bit, there's no substance being consumed on the live, but it's just water or TikTok. We're taking water and sweet. I don't even know what to call it in the general. Come up now. Yes, candy. Menthol. Yes, that's what I was looking for. It's menthol and water. So TikTok, you stop writing, consuming substances featured in this live. Nothing. You cannot harm your health by drinking water and tom-tom. All right, where were we? Someone says, personally, there are a lot of things DNA analysis cannot tell you about yourself. Sherry, or DNA, this is not, we moved away from the topic very quickly. Or DNA, let's just leave that matter, so I won't change the topic. Sha, may God give everybody understanding. We can embrace our mother's side and our father's side without having to say, I am this, I am that. You are from one place. Your father. That's how we know our paternity here. But unless, of course, you were raised by your mom with in that culture, then you'll be Yoruba. But then you can also acknowledge your father, But you don't have to be confused about your identity. So, if I find the interview, I'll play it for you. He said it was Yoruba, but he's also half Igbo. But his mom is Edo. How can you be half Igbo if your mom is Edo? It makes sense. How can you be half Igbo if your mom is Edo? Because really want to start doing percentages, that means you're actually 25% Yoruba. Is that not what it means? Is that not what it means? Because your grandfather is Yoruba, your grandmother is Igbo. They gave birth to your dad. Since you're using percentages, which makes no sense, by the way. So that means basically that you shouldn't say this if I'm using it. No, it's not the mug, it's the sweets. It doesn't do it when I have water. It's only when I'm putting on menthol. That's when it remembers that substances. It does that for not water. I think it's used to water, just the sweet. What was I saying? That if you want to go with half-half that people are doing, which is again, it's foreign to us. But if you want to do half-half, let me tell you what it means. Your grandfather is Yoruba, your grandmother is Igbo. So they gave birth to your father. You are using half-half, so that means your father is half Yoruba, half Igbo, Abi. If a half Yoruba man now marries half Yoruba, half Igbo man, now marries an Edo woman, that means the child is half Edo, quarter Yoruba and quarter Igbo. And that mindset, you know where that thing is coming from? Let me pause and actually explain this thing. You know where that thing? No, that thing is. It's not 33% though. It can't be 33%. It's 25. Ades wrote 33.33. It's not 33.33. It's 25. It's the concept of quadroons and octoroons. It's from Jim Crow. It's Jim Crow. That one drop rule. That's where all this thing is from. I'm sure you know about the one drop rule, like the black blood, American South. That's where this percentage nonsense came from. If you really look at it, it's a negative thing. Yes, Prof, blood quantum rule is Jim Crow era, is Jim Crow law. How do you now make it? Nigerians, we celebrate nonsense sometimes because that's the reason why we have like 20 Mother's Day in 1 year, because we are colonized. We don't know better. Me, I don't like. By the way, let me digress. I don't like the fact that Nigeria celebrates so many Mother's Day. People say, "Oh, but you are celebrating women." No, I say you are just celebrating stupidity. America, have Mother's Day, you celebrate. There will be International Women's Day, you celebrate as Mother's Day again. England will have Mother's Day, you celebrate. Catholics will have Mother's Day, you celebrate. Anglican will have something they call Mothering Sunday. Mothering Sunday that has nothing to do with women. It's called Mothering Sunday. By the way, I'm digressing, right? Mothering Sunday is actually the day that churches go to the mother church, like the headquarter church. That's what Mothering Sunday is in the Anglican Church in England. So that Mothering Sunday in Nigeria too, we'll still celebrate that one too as Mother's Day. You now have like 4 or 5 mothers that when I was growing up, we didn't have that kind of rubbish. It's nonsense. It's a product of colonial. Me, I grew up in CNS before we now got exposed to Pentecostalism, late 80s, early 90s. And I'm glad for all the things I got, whether it's Pentecostal or charismatic or CNS. So I'm blessed with everybody. But the point is, we don't have to do all this ridiculous purging. You're trying to feel among. That's the reason people are beginning to celebrate Halloween in Nigeria. We just imbibe nonsense. Like people's culture, your own. You will hate your own, you will demonize it, you will speak against it. You'll be celebrating the dead from another part of the world. We need help. So I was saying, this whole thing about percentages is actually it's something from the United States and it's from the South. And it's a negative thing. It's what they need in order to exclude you from society. It's a rule that was put in place to exclude black people, not just black people, anybody that has, it was called the one-drop rule. One-drop rule. In other words, let's say your great-great-great-grandmother was black. You are black. Nobody cares if both of your parents are supposed, even if they are white passing, they'll be black. I mean, you see someone like, I think she's even the, is she an octoroon or quadrant? This was not this lady, Mariah Carey. She's black. There's another one. There's even a better example. That one is white passing. Wentworth Miller. You've seen Prison Break, right? You've seen Prison Break. You know Michael Scofield. He's white passing, but in actual fact, he's black. Because somewhere in the ancestry, there's a black person. Thankfully, these days you won't use it. They won't use it against him. But back in the day, they would have used it against him. Just even though he's white passing means that he appears white, he looks white, his hair, But if you just call that somebody in your lineage is black, that's a problem. Anyway, all of that to say that all these 50% half caste that we're doing, it doesn't make sense. You can be as white as snow and say you're Yoruba man, sincerely, if your father is Yoruba. It's like you telling me right now that the freeze is half. I don't know if you will say it, I hope you will not talk like that, because the height of ignorance, that the freeze should now come now and say he's half Yoruba, half Romanian. He's a Yoruba man. And he can also be proud of the Romanian connection he has through his mother. That's what it is. I don't know all this half thing that people are doing. You're 100% Omo Abe, but Omo, yeah, no, near Torikwe, Ibelotiwa. You can go there and celebrate, but you can't be saying I'm half this, I'm half that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but maybe I'm too Yoruba for this nonsense. I also think Yoruba people should be doing half caste, which is why I also don't like the. And this is what also gives rise to hyphenated identities. People are saying things like you are half Yoruba, half Fulani. Nibo nieti wa. Boleti gbore. Mo tomati bi pé mo ti sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan Ṣèyí Mákindé is Yoruba. Àwọn tó jẹ́ pé ìyá wọn gan ń ṣe Yorùbá, bàbá wọn ń ṣe Yorùbá, wọ́n ń di Yorùbá. Bìrìntà sí ẹni tó jẹ́ pé bàbá ẹ̀ Yorùbá. Wọ́n máa sọ half kiri. Èèyàn kan ní some Igbos have weaponized interethnic marriage to Yoruba as part of the expansionist agenda. I mean, if it's people that actually have inferiority complex that celebrate getting married into another ethnicity the way Igbos do when it comes to getting married into Yoruba ethnicity, like, what's the big deal about it? I mean, I just thought that we're all human beings. If you see an Igbo woman that you like, you marry, Abi. There's no big deal. Until people start making look as if they've hit the jackpot, like, you are marrying our women. So, anyway, before going into other serious things, I hear that Tontodike has launched. I just saw it as soon as I got here. I heard to the Tontodike has launched a new ministry. We are not serious in Christianity. And I know we'll go deeper into the news, but I'll talk on this one very quickly. Let me play you something from our video. Let me play you something. 1 second. So there's a video where she's leading people in prayer, and and they said that evangelist Tonto DK preaching at a newly built ministry, New Wine Prophetic Tabernacle in Abuja. We discuss politics and culture. This is part of culture. Just to be clear. Culture is not that we're dancing at Tilogu. That's not the only thing that we call culture. This is also part of our culture. Now, what's this? Can God use a person regardless of their past? Of course. Can God use that? Yes. Is God using that? Most likely. Should she start a church? Most likely not. Definitely not. Listen. Somebody just said, I just saw it now, so I will just quickly talk about it. Number one, Jesus met a woman at the well, John chapter 4, right? And they had a conversation, and immediately she began to preach the gospel. She went to town and told people, so you can start preaching the day you get born again. When it comes to organizing something, you're bringing people together, you have to be trained. What's this thing that people do in Nigeria? That's why people be insulting Christians now and say you have no structure. You need to grow. Can God use her? Absolutely. When it comes to organizing stuff, leading people, I think people should be calm in this country. The other day I saw the person carrying photo all over the place, doing video. What a t-shirt logo gun self. Carry prophetic tabernacle. Meanwhile, beyond ministry, it's the same thing in life. Talent is not enough. You can be called, but sometimes you also need to be grounded. Prof suppose she has been imparted with her spiritual father's gift a la Pentecostal style. Whatever you meant with what you wrote, may God forgive you. Because I think I know exactly what you meant. I'm charismatic, Pentecostal. I'm not going to deny it, but this is just off. You've got to be trained. It doesn't happen in 2 weeks or 2 months or even a year. Stay in a place, grow. Everybody's starting prophetic in it. May God bless her, but I hope those who are fathers in the faith can reach out to her so they can help mentor her. Because she has already started, nobody can do anything about it, and it's God's work. But I don't know how we got into this. I just saw it on Twitter, so I should talk about it. But let's go back to our topic today. But before we do that, let me see some comments on YouTube and Facebook. Aderonke Ventures. Excuse me. ADB Renke Ventures on Facebook. I just want to thank God for you. I pray your shadow will never grow less in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Amen. Thank you very much for your prayer. Mr. Solomon says Shango is Yoruba. His mother is Nupe. In Yoruba, we say Akidile Baba Kamanileya. We don't have a father's village without the mothers. Yes. So you have to acknowledge your mothers. But it doesn't mean you are 50-50. That's why I said. So when you give birth to a child, now what percentage of that child is Yoruba? If you're using percentages, you can acknowledge your mother's place. I acknowledge my mother's town, but I'm an Ife man. And my mother would never have a problem with that. And when I go to a place, I will also celebrate them because I'm also connected to that place. But not be saying I'm 50 Yoruba, I'm 50% this, I'm 50% that. So if you are 50% Yoruba and give birth to children, your children now be 25. If you just want to give birth to children, you'll be what? 12.5. At what point are you going to go? You'll be just going close to zero. Abi? See your Baba Fe Ibo, to 50%. Tomoton Biba Fe Edo, 25%. See Anton B, to Alo Fe Oyibo, Oku 12.5. Abi Beko? Since you're using percentages, it's not about percentages. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's not about percentages. I hope I pass the message, Sha, without having to go deep. I don't want to make it a topic, Sha, but Shango is a Yoruba man. Nobody says Shango is half Yoruba, half. Will you make a half Kiniko to become your king? Because now you don't even know where his loyalty lies. National TV says, hello, sir. If a man marries Igbo, are the children 100% Yoruba? Okay, let me ask you a question. National TV, let me ask you a question. Sir, if a man marries Nupe, are the children 100% Yoruba? Leave Igbo alone. The matter is not Igbo. So let's talk about the concept of Are we making this about interethnic marriage? This is what Thomas Alekwa has brought. So National TV, please help me. If a Yoruba man marries a Nupe woman and they give birth to a child, will the child be 100% Yoruba? That's the question I want to ask. Let's forget about ethnicities for a second. Let's just talk about the concept. So you say yes. So your issue... So National TV, your issue is not with the concept of interethnic marriage. Your issue is... I see. I get you. Your issue is not with interethnic marriage. Your issue is with Igbo marriage. No, me feeling even you are laughing too now. We are laughing together. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. Since you are also laughing in the comment section. I'm saying, from your answer, it's clear that you don't have any problem with people marrying other ethnicities. You just have a problem with the fact that they're marrying Igbo. I get it. And to be honest, I think at this point, people should be concerned. Truly. You should be concerned. You should. But there's a question I always ask people, particularly Yoruba men. See, I've said it before, I'll say it one more time. If you marry an Igbo woman, and you're complaining that the Igbo woman is teaching your children Igbo culture and not Yoruba culture, it's not the woman's fault though. It's your fault as a man. Because I have to also talk to ourselves as Yoruba men. Because it's your fault. It's our fault. If the child doesn't grow up in Yoruba culture, it's the man's fault. Why? The woman, listen, understand where she is coming from. A lot of people from the Southeast, not all, to be clear, not all, but many people from the Southeast do not understand the concept of acculturation. They don't. I've spoken to them. You've heard them on social media. I've met them in real life. The idea of assimilation is strange and foreign to them. In their mind, they are losing something. They don't see it as gaining something. They see it as losing something. They are going to lose themselves in becoming, or in seeing their children, take on the ethnicity of their husband, which is dumb because you didn't have to marry that man in the first place. But she's not the only person who is dumb. The man also has to share the blame. Because if you marry a person that, so the question is the man. How come, and this is the question you ask yourself, how come when you marry an Edo woman as a Yoruba man, your children grow up as Yoruba men? How come when you marry Nupe, which was the example I gave earlier, how come when you marry a Nupe woman, your children grow up as Yoruba children? So the issue is not so much interethnic as it is with the people you are laying with. And there are exceptions, even amongst the Igbos, there are exceptions. But generally speaking, the concept of assimilation is foreign. They don't see themselves in that place. They're always, and you see them on social media, even today. I mean, I saw a video earlier where the lady was saying, why should our children be speaking Yoruba, even though the husband is Yoruba and she's Igbo? I'm like, what kind of inferiority complex is this? You will not see it with other ethnicities. And by the way, we're not the only ones marrying Igbo. Different people are marrying different people all over Nigeria. But my point, Sha, is that somebody sent me something last week and said, Adetokunbo, the Giannis, that's his name, the Nigerian Greek basketballer who plays in NBA, and what the mother has done, and Kineka. I'm like, say the mother wanted him to start a language school, now started Igbo language school in Lagos. For me, I think that's ridiculous. But guess what? That's how I was raised. The issue is the father. if you're a man, I want to marry Pinkini, marry people that can raise your children in your own culture. And there are people like that. I've met Igala women who speak Yoruba, only Swenu. Igala from Kogi State. I've seen Edo. I've seen different ethnicities. I've seen some Igbo too, but very few who are able to actually appreciate your culture. They're not just marrying you because they see fine boy. Let me tell you something, and I should say this. A lot of people actually marry Yoruba men to escape the indignities of their own culture. I'm not going to mention any specific culture. Thank you for the gift. Thanks a lot, Tidan. Some people marry into Yoruba culture to escape the indignities of their own culture. And they are married for a particular thing they like about Yoruba people. They will not have to go through this. If, for instance, they are with their family, the husband's family will not do this to them. And then eventually, maybe when the husband grows and goes to Agbanre, she will not have problem with certain issues like inheritance, like rights after burial, like this crazy thing they do with corpse and water and bathing and that kind of rubbish. So certain people marry into Yoruba people to escape such things. It's not like the person actually really cares for the culture that much. It's just that particular thing that is interesting them. So people marry Yoruba because of I'm going to marry a Nigerian and you're going to wear gele to my wedding. That's why they marry. And the only people that wear gele and be the real Nigerian wedding party is the Yoruba party. So they want the dobale. I want people to come and dobale. People marry for ridiculous reasons these days. So I hear things on social media. I'm like, so they just want to marry so that they can dobale. People marry for weird reasons. Thanks a lot, Tidan. People marry for the weird reasons. So the person now married finished now. He said, make greet the husband, mama. He said, no, I cannot do that. Why would I kneel down? You know, what kind of thing is that? That culture is not really there. It's just the Mumbe. All of that to say that if you're a man and you're marrying somebody from another ethnicity, if you know the person hates Yoruba culture and cannot stand Yoruba way of life, you shouldn't marry them. All this thing of I love them, you're just thinking with your penis. Your children will have problems. They'll be confused. When they are growing up, they'll be confused. And I've said it before, there are people who can say I'm Yoruba, I'm Yoruba, but my mother is from here, and they're also proud of where their mother is from. And there's no big deal. As a matter of fact, I've seen children whose mothers are Yoruba who are also very proud of their mother's culture, but they're not necessarily abandoning their father. And there are people I've seen whose fathers maybe messed up and they took on the Yoruba identity of their mothers. Regardless, the point is you can have the best of both worlds. But when you have children who are confused, for the most part, their mothers are from one or two particular ethnicities, and you know those ethnicities, they will, but one particular ethnicity will put hate in you towards, for what? I don't even know why. If you do this, but why are you marrying them? All right, I hope I answered your question without really going straight. But national TV, I think that what you are against is a person who hates Yoruba culture. And if those people are from a particular ethnicity, then Yoruba men should be careful. And if you marry them, and they then turn your children against your culture, you cannot blame the mothers. You have to blame yourself as a Yoruba man. Because there are many fish in the ocean. Some people say fishes, but there are many fish in the ocean. You decide to go and choose that particular one who has no regard for your culture and identity. I don't blame that woman. I blame us. All right. And I heard that Yoruba women are also marrying such ethnicities, but it's good. God will, all of us will be, it is well. It is well. I like that song. National TV, you're welcome, sir. So the child, I think, I mean, if you marry somebody who is not Yoruba, you have a child and you are the father, the child is Yoruba. I don't really like this one. I don't like 50-50. I don't like the percentage thing. I think it dilutes, it confuses the child if you're not careful. Okay. Let's go on with the news and then we'll get into other things much later. So good news from Zamfara State. 1 second. good news from Zamfara. I'm going to read from allafrica.com. Nigeria Army rescues 33 kidnapped victims in Zamfara. The Nigerian Army has said it has rescued 33 people who were kidnapped by armed men while traveling to Zamfara State in the northwest. Please, we're going to come back to this video thing. I think we really want to talk about identity today, so let me just read a few news items. Actually, this is good news, but hopefully we also have a kind of structure where people will not even be kidnapped in the first place. This one is not very good, but I'll read it. It's happening in our own Yubambi. Nigerian Customs uncovers 399 rifles in tin can port shipment. Nigerian Customs Service, NCS, says it uncovered 390. This is from Daily Nigerian, by the way, Daily Nigerian. The Nigeria Customs Service, NCS, says it uncovered 399 fully assembled Georgia firearms and assorted rifle parts following the detailed examination. Oh dear. Oh shoot, I can't really see the rest of the news. So, the point is that they found Ibon in the shipment. Give me a second if I can find your full report. How do people create websites like this? It's just full of ads. I'll read it to you. Let me find you that news report from somewhere else. Lonely at the top, lonely. Money on my mind. So tin can port arm seizure. 1 second, please. While I'm looking for that, let me just read what people are writing in the comment section. Someone says, Lobaton, how many of such do we now have? How many of such do we know have crippled into the southwest? You know, last month, last month, that's how they caught one person who was carrying some people going to the southeast, carrying camouflage, army uniforms, going to Igbo land from Lagos. Things are happening. It's only God that has to, not just God, our security officers also have to get, because I don't like put everything on the neck of God. Our security officers also have to do more work. NCS uncovers 399 rifles in tin can port shipment. I'll read Vanguard. The Nigeria Customs Service, NCS, says it uncovered 399 fully assembled Georgia firearms and assorted rifle parts following the detailed examination of a seized shipment at the Tin Can Island Port Command. The service made this known in a statement by its national spokesperson, Abdullahi Mewada, on Sunday in Abuja. Mewada said the seizure was confirmed on Sunday after Customs completed the coupling and examination of the arms shipment, which was initially discovered as crates of knocked-down components concealed in a container. He said NCS Controller General CG Bashir Adedeji has disclosed the interception of the container containing the concealed firearm components, which were preliminarily identified as Joseph pump-action rifles. Adedeji said the additional rifle parts recovered include 89 frames, 16 heat shields, 10 trigger pins, 3 pistons, 25 locking lugs, and 80 charging handles. So hopefully they'll catch the people who actually brought those things in, but at least we know that they're not going to allow those things, those weapons, into the country. All right. Kano State has some interesting development. Find you that report. I don't know if you've heard about it. That Kano State is investing in like serious. Wait, this country, we need true federalism, which must include fiscal federalism. Because I don't understand how a state is sponsoring mass weddings. Let's read this from Vanguard. It'll be from Punch. This is from August 8, 2026. Kano holds mass wedding for 1,500 couples. No fewer than 1,500 widows and young women were married on Friday. They used that widow intentionally. Very smart. No fewer than 1,500 widows and young women were married on Friday under the Kano State Mass Wedding Program coordinated by the Kano State Hisbah Board. Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf, who officiated at the ceremony, described the initiative as a major social intervention designed to restore hope, strengthen family institutions, and promote moral values across the state. Let me just go to what he said. It says, this program reflects our administration's commitment to supporting vulnerable citizens by easing the financial burden associated with marriage and creating opportunities for dignified family life in accordance with Islamic principles and the rich cultural heritage of Kano. As part of the government's support package, people go and marry in outside. I met one gentleman the other day, said he's not getting married because of money. That guy can pay all these people's money. All this he can sponsor this wedding, Each bride will also receive 200,000 naira for dowry and business support. Sorry, as part of the government's support package, each groom will receive 10 yards of shada fabric, a cap, a bag of rice, and a jerry can of cooking oil to assist them as they begin married life. Sure, we are joking in this country, but each bride will also receive 200,000 naira for dowry and business support. Okay, I like that one. Wallahi, I like that one. Alongside household items, including a bed, mattress, wardrobe, dressing mirror, blankets, bed sheets, and a center rug. I mean, they say a lot of other things, but I like the fact that they're going to be giving the women 200,000 naira to start business. That's the best news for me in all of this. It's true now, because wedding is just one day now. Someone's laughing in the comment section. Wedding is just one day. How to sustain the marriage? People, I think we usually conflate wedding with marriage. Wedding is just a ceremony. Marriage got on the issue. Someone says 200,000 naira will be 2 million. 200,000 is a lot of money. I mean, if we're really being fair. So if you give them 200,000 naira, I mean, they're able to start something. Hopefully it grows. That's the best news. But the wedding itself, I don't know why you need to get married before you get 200,000 naira. But I mean, hopefully we're all going to learn more as we all go along in this country. This country is just an interesting place. May God help all of us. Anyway, let's read one more news before we come back down to the south. This is from the Nation newspaper. All right. Thank you so much, Adez. Thank you for the gifts. I really appreciate it. Python Lee says, Yalakara venture. Yes, now. I mean, there's a lot of business people. Many people actually, people that sell vegetables, that sell pepper, you may look down on them, but they make money. They're able to take care of their families, and they don't require 200,000 naira for the most part, to start those businesses. Of course, hopefully it grows and becomes bigger. I don't see this report though. The news I want to read is actually about what's happening in Borno. I want to read that before coming down south. So for me, 200k, it's not a loan, no, it's a gift though. If somebody gives me 200k today, right now, would I not give me 20k if I'll not be happy? And it's your money, it's a gift though. You are giving me the money. Even if it's 2k, even if it's 2 naira, Abba. When I give you money, you appreciate that. 200,000 naira is not small money. I mean, I get like it's small money, but maybe, but in reality, how many people make 200,000 naira on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis in Nigeria? Many of us, we are not as, we assume that until you go out. I was reading somebody's article on it was one platform online last week, and the person was saying something to the effect of his love for the idea of revolution. When he was in school, he used to like the idea of revolution, like we're going to have revolution in Nigeria, we'll remove all these big men. And then, of course, there was a wedding last week, Pella, those kids, those wonderful people, they had this wedding, and then there was this guy who was also there, and you had this young man. I don't know if you've seen the video. It's all over the place, banging on the car and cheering the guy and hailing him, hoping to get some money. And the guy said, and it's actually it's a product of serious thinking. The guy said that when he saw that video, he began to change his mind about the idea of revolution. Because, and I'll tell you, I'll paraphrase what he said, because of course I can't remember it verbatim. The idea basically is this: when they, educated people, those who went to university, when we talk about revolution, we're thinking of, let's remove the people in power. If you really have revolution, you discover that you are seen as part of the group in power. Because the 200,000 naira that doesn't make any sense to you, it takes some people 2 months or 3 or 5 months to be able to. There are people in this 2026, they've not been able to actually count 200k. Kishi, but when you owe 200,000 naira lower at the same time, at the particular point in time. This is August. From January to August, they've not been able to actually assemble 200k at once. If you have revolution, they will attack you. That's why all this English that we are speaking doesn't really, you have to really understand, how this thing can, become chaotic very quickly. And you see it with what happened during NSAS. Kotomo, they're already looting shops, and in Lekki, people are already breaking into places. Because there are people who are really, really at the bottom rung of the ladder. So if you give them 200,000 naira to go and start a business, in fact, give them 50,000 naira, you are doing a lot. Anyway, let's continue with the news. I want us to read this book today, so we'll be very quick with the news. And I'll bring people up before we start reading anyway, so that we hear other voices as well. All right, so just the headline, so we can move on to other things. A Nigerian Air Force airstrike eliminated 9 ISWAP fighters and a top commander during operations in Borno State. So that's good news from Borno. I'll move very quickly. Another very good news that I saw today, and I really want to share this, is the Coastal Highway Guards. All right, that's been launched. Was launched today. The Honorable Minister of Works, Senator Devumai, launched the Coastal Highway Guards, starting with 40 officers. This personnel will be in charge of maintaining presence on the highway, report suspicious activities, restrict hawking on the coastal highway, report and monitor any form of vandalism, restrict keke or okada on the coastal highway, restrict loitering on the coastal highway. The team is led by retired General Adekunle Shodunke. They will work in conjunction with the security agencies in the state. The Honorable Minister says this is not an empowerment program, in quote. It is a full-time job to protect national assets of the government and in line with the renewed hope of Mr. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. Take a listen to this.
Their presence on the highway is to reassure motorists, not frighten them. Their responsibility will include, among other things, maintaining presence along designated sections of the highway and maintaining alert to activities capable of threatening the safety of road users or government infrastructure. They are expected to observe, remain vigilant, identify hazards, monitor government infrastructure, report vandalism and suspicious activities, assist motorists appropriately, report incidents and emergencies, communicate accurately, maintain proper record, support authorized security and agencies. They will protect the integrity of the assigned areas. They are the eyes and ears of the highway, and they will observe any damage to the infrastructure and report it to the appropriate agency. We are creating motorcycles that they will be using to patrol the entire coastal area for now. To our host community, I want to appeal to you that please regard this personnel as partners.
All right. Quite interesting. I like what is happening because we've been having, people talk about vandalism. You have this new road and people are already destroying parts of it. Even the second Niger bridge, I saw people were removing some of the things in the culvert. The same thing you have with the Nigeria railway. I think, but the government has to do something more than this. This is good, by the way. You need to have, highway patrol. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's also the need for attitudinal change. And that would only come from, giving people the proper orientation, which means that you have to educate Nigerians. Nigerians care for what's theirs. They don't care for what's ours. So if it's your own, you care for it. If it belongs to us, it doesn't belong to anybody because it belongs to nobody. Because nobody really cares that it belongs to... Because if it belongs to everybody, it doesn't belong to anybody. I mean, if it belongs to everybody, in actual fact, it doesn't belong to anybody. That's the mindset we have, and it's a terrible thing. So I think the government needs to work with National Orientation Agency and begin to teach us, the children from school. They should work with the Ministry of Education. But the adults, they should use TV, and they should stop. It's not just NTA. Use YouTube. Use TikTok, Twitter. Tell people how they should manage things, and also take care of people. If people have money, most likely they will not be going around the place. I saw a video last week. I'm always seeing. I see random things. I saw a video last week of a Bola guy. Bola. Wait now. We're all there last week now. We saw that video where these Hausa boys were digging into pillars that were pillars, beams supporting bridges in Festac Town. Digging into those things to remove iron rod. And rock colony, but it's also a product of poverty of the mind, then poverty of stomach too. So I hope that they do something about that so that we don't have this kind of so that they're able to also help the people that we have here, the highway guards, who will be taking care of the national assets. We should also raise our people and teach ourselves and understand. I'm also using this opportunity to talk to us about it. We have to be very careful, when it comes to national assets. If you see something, say something. If you see somebody removing something, say something. The video I saw last week of someone removing like a grate on the gutters. This Bola guy just took it and put it in his wheelbarrow and was pushing it. Of course, I don't know what happened afterwards. They caught it at that point. So hopefully somebody actually spoke up. But let's speak up when we see things like that. That's why you see estates, they put the signs there. Don't come in if you are riding Okada or if you are doing Bola, Someone says, I thought that story was debunked. What story? Story that was shared by Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources in Lagos, Tokunbo Wahab. Nobody debunked that story. It's not even something to debunk now. Shebi, it's something we all saw it now. I showed the video last week. They were digging into the pillar in order to remove, which is insanity. Anyway, there's one news I want to finish with before we go to other things. But let me play you some clips from the interview that was held yesterday. CEO says the governor was there yesterday. Thank you very much for confirming. It's terrible. People actually are doing terrible things. So let's all be our brother's keeper or the city's keeper, so to speak. NTA reported that it was maintenance activity. I don't want to say what I'm just thinking right now. Let me not say what's on my mind. You know how people want to create this thing of we know it was his boys from the north. The very next day, they caught a number of them under the bridge. In fact, there was another day they caught some people as well, which I don't. Those were maybe Northerners and Yoruba. So those ones too is because they are cleaning the park. That's vandalization, not maintenance. Maybe NTA is trying to give us this thing like so they will not say, you know how we like to hide behind one finger in this country. You hear meth lab and you see all the names and you're like, oh, crime is not in what kind of nonsense do people say? Oh, crime is not tribal. That kind of ridiculous, stupid nonsense. Like, okay, crime is not tribal, but this particular ethnicity is the one that actually does this crime. But we should not say it's that ethnicity. So we're just going to gloss over it. So let's call this thing maintenance. Maintenance no matter woo pillar. Out of one using NTA, all Adedeji one because it could make sense. And I don't think they didn't think it through before they said that nonsense. Thank you, Python Lee. A crime knows no tribe. You know, somebody says that you say you are not the one, but you are the one they see every time on this particular matter. You are the only group they catch doing this for years now. Even if there are other groups doing it, the fact that you are consistently criminal in your actions, does that not say something? Someone else says NTA may be trying to douse the tribal tension. Yes, and I don't think it has to be tribal. See, it's the truth. You will not see Yoruba people sleep under the bridge. It doesn't mean Yoruba people will not do some bad things. For instance, the boys that were stopping buses from moving around, many of them will be Yoruba. Should I now say because they're Yoruba, let's just leave that matter and not talk about it? If you are disturbing motorists, right, you're trying to be fair, they are dealing with their own NURTW people, but they also have a way of dealing with them. So if I can say that about my own people, and I'll see also people digging into walls and pillars, and I mention that, does that mean, what do people act very for in this country? It means that you now hate outside. Do I hate my people for now seeing what they did? We're not serious in this country. And that's the funny thing. They will never really discuss it, you know, because you don't want to be seen. So your house will be falling into disrepair. You leave it like that. You won't talk about it because you don't want to be seen as prejudiced. It's nonsense. We don't really have many leaders in this country, do we? We have panderers. And you see them, not just in politics, even in media. The interview yesterday was actually quite funny. Sheon does that a lot. When it comes to any Yoruba person that is probably APC, when it comes to Kidnap, I don't know why people do that. Anyway, I know, but I don't want to talk about it. Let's listen to some clips from Sheon's interview with Mr. Zacchaeus, Dr. Zacchaeus Adedeji, on channels yesterday. Take a listen, please. By the way, in this particular clip, we talked about how much was being allocated as of 2023 and how much we are sharing now in Nigeria. That the gap is so wide. Hint, from 700 billion to 4.5 trillion naira. Take a listen to this.
Do Nigeria, is this government saying you need more time for the macro to reflect the micro? No, it is a process. That is what I'm explaining to you. Just look at the data you put in there. Before last May, the refining capacity of this country is 30,000 barrels a day. Through the conducive environment and the help and ingenuity of Mr. President, we are now refining 700 barrels per day. What does this mean to us? One, not only more money. When you talk more money, money is consequence, is employment, is stability. Now, imagine when we have the Iran war, we were protected for the better part of it. Do you remember when last you had about Q in Nigeria? Do you remember last time people go on strike on petrol pricing? These are the people should remember. And remember, we are just 3 years. Now imagine the refinery that is now doing 700 barrels per day now. The number of employment, the number of impact that this will have. And this is just 3 years. Don't forget, Nigeria has been a system for more than since 1960, just on the paper that we have. In 3 years, just look at what we've done.
Although largely the part of this has also been given ahead for credit.
No, it's not.
We're giving crude.
No. It is nothing like
Again, this number that you are talking about, the production of our oil per day is also not the exact number that we are.
No, it's the exact number.
Because what about the Buhari government that has given?
No. It's another thing. It's different thing. This one we're talking about here is refinery capacity.
Okay.
You know, before now, in this country, the last 30 years, nobody has refined 1 million litre. In March this year, Nigeria will become net exporter of PMS product. This is adding value. This is giving to that the same decision I'm telling you. If Mr. President has not removed subsidy, there is no way refinery will work. Because if you produce and if you are not government producing, it's private, and you cannot sell it at market-driven price, how would that happen? Do you know the implication of that? And then if you look at which is what you see in revenue. When we came on board, 2023, the total allocation monthly is around 700 billion. Today, we are sharing 4.5 trillion. This is 530%. And people are talking about food economy. People are talking it's not reaching people. Well, how many times have you heard that a state governor, I was commissioner of finance 11 years ago, will come here and say we are looking for support to pay salary. We are looking for pay. How many times have you heard that happening in the last 3 years? So I think what Mr. President deserves now is support, his commendation for his courageous decision to be a statesman and not a politician. And that is when it is time for politics, and I give it to you also, that you will help us ask anybody that said is coming, just ask them, what will you do differently? It's not about saying buffer. So buffer as what? We are federation people, there are lawyers. So are we going to, what do they expect?
All right, that was Mr. Dr. Zach Adedeji, the chairman of the National Revenue Service. It used to be FIRS, but it's now NRS. It did so well, if you ask me, because I watched part of that interview yesterday. There's another clip here where he talked about the president's work. And by the way, he's also one of the folks behind the increase in revenue generation, at the federal level. So this is really, it's good to listen to him. In this particular clip, he talks about how the president has elevated the system above what his critics can understand. And in this particular clip, he's talking to the president himself. Again, listen to Zach Adedeji, the chairman of the Nigeria Revenue Service. Take a listen to this.
Key that is also omitted here is removal of subsidy, because it is real foundation. This is distortion that has affected this economy in the last 40 years. The courage to remove it in less than 1 hour with assumption of office is the background, is the bedrock, is the fundamental. And that is why I get worried when I listen to some people and they say the economy and everything. I ask them the question. Just ask them, what would they do differently? Mr. President, I don't want you to wonder. You've elevated the system for what they know or they can understand. Right. So when you see their comments, you will see that it is far, far below, because the level, just imagine, from 50 to 240, if you see this figure, they cannot imagine it. But we will continue to take time to educate them on the level that the country is going. So with this short remark, Mr. President, I can only congratulate you and be open to you that we are ready. All you ask with the permission of Mr. President will get them resolved. Thank you, Mr. President.
Two more clips and then we'll move on to other things. From the interview with Sean Balogun yesterday, in this particular clip I'm about to play, Zach Adedeji talked about subsidy and how it affected Nigeria for many years. Take a listen, please.
Of Nigeria. So if balance sheet of Nigeria is getting better, so by extension, the life of Nigeria are getting better. That's it. Secondly, when you talk about opposition, I want you to let us defer that because the focus today is to explain the decision that Mr. President has made the results that we've seen, and how does future look like. So I want us to structure this conversation into like 4 sections. First will be, what did we meet when we come? What have we done? And what are the results? And how does future look like? And let me take the first session about what we meet. You know, it's not in the character of Mr. President to share blame, because we believe government is continuum. But that does not mean we should not take stock of where we are coming from. And just to put it in perspective, Mr. President inherited economy that is baffled with 4 mutually reinforcing distortion. One is subsidy that is unsustainable. Second one is opaque foreign exchange market that we have that discouraged investment into the country. Third one is underperforming oil sector, which should be our backbone. And last one is that we have tax base that is very small compared to the size of our economy. Those are the conditions that we met. And if you see that in real time, we have trade deficit, you have negative fact inflow, meaning that instead of NNPC oil company bringing money to us, we are actually owing the NNPC because of subsidy that are not sustainable. You go to CBN, you have backlog of 7 billion. You have ways and means of roughly 23 trillion.
This was pre-Tinubu's coming into power.
I just don't want to say pre-Tinubu. I'm just telling you what we met on ground.
Before 2023.
Before 2023. This is the situation that we have on ground. Foreign inflow zero because of distortion in forex. I will give a full explanation into that. And poverty, lack of coordination, all those things is what we have. And as a visionary leader that Mr. President is, sat down and said, okay, how will I fix this? Because in our language, they say when the tree fall upon each other, you have to take it from the top. And he took the bold and which is most fundamental decision of this administration, which is removal of fuel subsidies. This is evil that has been with us for more than 3 decades. And this has caused a lot of distortion in macroeconomic indices of our economy. Coupled with that is unification of exchange rate that he has done. And then setting up tax reform and also issuing some executive orders to address pending the time that we will have the law being passed. So when you have this situation on ground, and you know, as an accountant and economics, economics is not run by emotion. They respond to the rules. There are fundamentals. So when you make reference to what I said about complaining or people criticizing sectional data, and I said that Mr. President has elevated the structure system far beyond comprehension of some people. Because if you look at it, and which is the question I asked, that are they saying that it is wrong that we remove fuel subsidy? Are they saying that it is wrong that we unify the rate? Are they saying that we should have continued to use 1923 stamp duty tax law? So which one? And that is what I said, that I don't want us to focus, because the political or campaign is not yet here. But the question I want Nigeria and you inclusive to ask is that what will you do differently from what we're doing?
So let's ask the question. There are fundamental principles that the president have stood on since he assumed office.
So that was Zach Adedeji, the chairman of the Nigerian Revenue Service. I really do like the interview. I'm playing these things because when it's time to come up, if you want to speak on any of these things, please feel free to do so. I'll say several times that I am not even a financial expert, but you don't have to be a financial expert to see the effect of what President Tinubu did. I can't remember the last time, that I had to queue to buy fuel in Nigeria. Yes, it's more expensive, but then the question is, it's available. How it used to be. So here's the question: would you prefer that time? The price was not even stable. So you have to buy black markets. I mean, last Christmas we're all chilling. You just drove into the filling station and you buy whatever you want to buy. We don't have to do that anymore. And you will not have a Dangote if you still have subsidy, by the way. Just saying. No Dangote will come and put his money and expect to begin to operate when you have subsidy all over the place. You have a situation where FX is available. The black market, the price is not so different from what you're going to get in banks. So the round tripping that used to happen with the Bureau de Change guys is not happening like it used to before. I think that, conversations and stuff, but you cannot deny that before me, or at the time I did, you couldn't go through one session without going on strike. There was a time we went on 11 months break in Ife. In our own school, we did 5 months, we did 11 months, we did 1 month. I don't think any session ever went by. That's why we spent 5 years for a 4-year course, for a 4-session course. 4 sessions could be done in 3.5 years or 3 years. But no, we have to do 5 years. Because strike it poor. You don't hear that kind of thing anymore. There's a reason for that. And to not acknowledge that in the name of politics, I think it's weird. But again, I think it's also normal, right? If you want to displace your opponent to say all kinds of things, but you expect that people actually say something that makes sense. And before I go to some of the things that don't make sense that people are saying, I'll just read some numbers from the interview that we just listened to. I think it helps us appreciate the conversation a bit deeper. So here is the Nigerian economic snapshot. So they have 3 columns. There's indicator, there's May 2023 baseline, and then there's mid 2026 position. All right. So the indicator, let's say domestic refining capacity, which was what we were saying to Sheon earlier, and I'm glad I was able to correct Sheon, because Sheon was a bit hyper, so you had to correct him, which is fair. So domestic refining capacity, as at May 2023, it was 30,000 barrels per day. Today, mid 2026, it's 700,000 barrels per day. And you also know that from March this year, Nigeria has been exporting PMS. We've been exporting fuel. Before, we used to queue to even spend our own money to buy PMS, right? But now we're exporting. We don't have to import bad fuel, don't want to buy engine motor and things like that. Now we're able to export. Then there's FIRS. The tax revenue has gone from 12.3 trillion naira in May 2023 to 28.3 trillion in 2025, and now it's at 27.1 trillion naira in July 2026. That means that government has more money to do the things that we want government to do. Trade balance, May 2023 was the marginal surplus as of May 2023 was 44.7 billion naira. Okay, 44.7 billion was the marginal surplus as at May 2023. Today, 2026. By the first quarter of 2026, that's gone up to 7.55 trillion naira surplus, from 44 to 44 billion. It's a very huge leap. If you had said 44.7 to 440 billion, that would be a lot of money. But it's not 44 to 440 or to 880, but to 7.5 trillion naira. That's the trade balance, the marginal surplus, the surplus that we have in our trade balance. Let's go on to the next indicator. Solid minerals revenue. We're making 25 that had gone up to 70 billion naira. And then the all share index, Nigerian Stock Exchange market cap was 55,738 points, 30.36 trillion naira cap as at May 2023. Today we've gone from 55,738 points to 250,000 points, and the cap has gone up from 30.36 36 to 161 trillion naira. Out of school children, that was actually terrible. UNICEF as of 2023 was 20 million. Today, it's now between 18.3 and 18.5 million. That's not too good. Yeah, you can say 1.5 is a lot, but considering you have 18.5 to deal with, we're not doing too good there. And I think Northern governors need to step in. I heard last week that Tinubu is doing something about our Almajiri schools, and I think it's a good thing, but I don't think it's going to succeed without the support of the people themselves. It will succeed if those people... Our Almajiri issue is not an educational... It's not even a policy matter. It's a cultural matter. You see, on this platform, we discuss culture, history, politics, and innovation, right? Inside culture, you see identity. When it comes to the issue of Almajiri, it's not about whether you have policy as a government or not. It's about the culture of the people. If you don't work with religious leaders, traditional rulers in the north, I hope it doesn't end the way Jonathan's project ended. Well, I said that to say that most of the out-of-school children in Nigeria are in the north, and that's a fact, and it's quite sad, but it's a reality. And of course, minimum wage has gone up from 30,000 naira in May 2023 to 70,000 naira today. So we're making progress. There's a lot of grounds to cover, and I hope, I wish the government well, and we really hope that they actually double their efforts and do better. I'd like to play you something from the stock exchange folks. I mentioned them earlier. I'll see if I can quickly find them. But while I'm looking for them, let me just play you something from the president when they went to see him, what he said last week. When the stock exchange folks, the people working there, the DG, which, by the way, I don't know if people remember that Peter Boo was once DG of Nigeria Stock Exchange. You know what, let me start with that before I play waiting Tinubu talk at that meeting. Let me play you a clip from Head of Security and Exchange Commission. First, I'll play you something that happened on AIT, and then I'll play you what happened in the meeting they had with Tinubu. Then I'll now play the response from President Tinubu. Take a listen to Emomotimi Agama. That's the Head of Security Exchange Commission in Nigeria. Take a listen, please.
I know why the SEC had a seat at the table for that payment vision 2088. That's one. Immediately also after the event that Monday, you went to Lagos, you launched, the T+1 settlement cycle. And I remember in November of last year, that we had the T+2, and I spoke with the CSCS people on the show. And so I would like you to speak to us as what exactly are the implications of this?
Thank you very much. Again, you see, those are part of the things we do, and that part of the things the government of this nation is doing to change the narrative, that hitherto had not been. Is doing to change the narrative, that hitherto had not been.
Okay, we're having a little issue with that.
Understood.
Okay.
What is important in securities dealing is that every investor wants their cash. How do we facilitate that these investors get their cash? Just as when they had done the transaction. The excitement of young people today is the ability to make money as fast as possible. It was T+5.
Yes.
It got to T+3. We moved to T+2. And mind you, this is not, a flag by night activity. It isn't. The ISA 2007 and indeed the Capital Market Master Plan 1.0 specifically stated as this as a milestone to be achieved. Capital Market Master Plan 1.0 expired in 2025. And hence, in 2025, we're at T+2. And at that launch, we specifically stated.
Sorry, I found the video I was looking for. very quickly. This was the president's remark when they went to visit him in Aso Rock. That's the stock exchange folks. Take a listen, please.
Sir, it is sad. So the market is doing well. Well, we're doing well. If we can teach this in the classroom to our undergraduates, if they can be in the classroom, what to pay and how they do it, we can build a nation of succession and prosperity, and it's our home. It will encourage the private sector to invest and invest wisely. Take a risk. It's one of the reasons why I backed Aliko Dangote. Even before I became president, may God bless the soul of Muhammadu Buhari. Oh, we're talking, this refinery and all of that. Why should we have this? Okay, we'll find a way. If we can push it to the private sector,
Check.
if we can support the private sector, it will be a great benefit. And they did it, so fine. And when I came in, okay, Naira for the crew, let's stabilize the currency. And no need for letters of credit and paperwork. Let's build a trust that can work. And it's not a unrealizable ambition to push Nigeria. We are searching to shoot for $1 trillion economy. It's achievable. It's achievable. You look at yourself and you ask questions. What are we producing that other nations do? How do we collaborate with other countries? How do we get this listening down like you have identified? Before asking, it's not a big problem. We look at it. The expansion is for all for us. I could look back and look at Aramco and others and see how the oil producing of Saudi Arabia was, the life of publicly quoted company. We can refine and do NNPC, reform to the extent that one day the totality of it, not just the arms and legs, the totality of it will be listed on the.
All right, moving away from NGX, the Nigerian President President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved 3 major projects proposed by the Federal Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy to improve network connectivity across Nigeria. The approval followed the President's meeting with ministers at the State House, Abuja. Briefing the President, the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, presented updates on 3 flagship digital transformation projects being implemented by the ministry. He disclosed that the federal government had completed resource mobilization and contracting for the Building Resilient Digital Infrastructure for Growth Bridge project. The project will deploy 90,000 kilometers of fiber optic infrastructure across Nigeria, covering every state, geopolitical zone, local government area, and ward. According to the minister, the nationwide fiber deployment will begin within the next few weeks. Tijani said, and I quote, "We are now at the point where in a few weeks' time, we should start laying those fibers. People will start seeing us around the country, deploying the infrastructure. This is going to transform Nigeria for good." The project is expected to expand broadband access, improve network reliability, and strengthen Nigeria's digital economy. So this is very, very good. It's a very good news, and I'm happy about this. Somebody has a question in the comment section. The person says, I'm just going to quickly read the question. It says, Prof, is it safe to say that Tinubu is on course to surpass the father of modern Yoruba politics? I would say Tinubu has not even reached where the father of modern Yoruba politics got to, let alone surpass. He's doing fantastically well, he's doing great stuff, but he has not gotten close to what Awo did, at least not yet. You can talk about what Awo did now, not just in terms of what he did at the time, but the fact that it's enduring. You can still feel it, you can touch it, you can still feel the impact many years after. All right, the free education program, for instance, started in 1955. You still you will feel the impact for life. You can't compare anything with that one. 1979, when they were starting UPN, the goal was free education, free healthcare for everybody. Because he did it, by the way, he did it in Western region, you know. But Tinubu is on the right path, and I think he's doing what Awo would have done if Awo were alive. But I'm not going to say that he's on course to surpass Awo. I don't think he has got to that. He hasn't even got. No. Meanwhile, we should never compare Tinubu with Awo. It's like comparing the present president of Prime Minister of Singapore to Lee Kuan Yew. You know, it's not going to happen. Meanwhile, there's something that Tinubu has that Awo did not have. He became president of Nigeria. When it comes to ideology, when it comes to stuff, he also has to depend on some of the things that Awo propounded, you know. But he's doing well, and I'm very proud of him, and I like the trajectory that he's on. All right, that much I can say. Now let's take a short break and listen to something quite interesting. The Adedeji is somebody you all know. He's an activist, not a lawyer. He was on Twitter a couple of days ago, and he said some interesting things. He was also on Seun Okinbaloye's platform. He said some interesting things. So let's begin with what he said on Seun Okinbaloye's platform, where he said that he was bigger than Peter Obi. Take a listen to this.
Pathway for an article. There's no pathway for any of them. See, for an article, the prayer of an article right now is that Peter Obi should do very well in the South and defeat Tinubu in the South so that he can stand a chance. But I don't even think Peter Obi can be useful to article in the next election, because
why? It looks like you don't like Peter Obi. You speak
and he doesn't like me as well.
Strongly against him.
Yeah, he doesn't like me as well. Wow. He has sent almost all his aides to insult me, and even the girl that is always with him, Sarah, the Sarah girl, all of them insult me, lied against me. So the feeling is mutual. There is nothing personal. If you don't like me, but if you don't like me and you send your aides to insult me, I will insult you back. Because I will not join issues with your aides. Whoever I join issues with your aides, then I'm at your aides level. But I will elevate the hate to your level. He's refusing to respond to me, but he's paying him now. The things I'm saying again is paying him. That's why he took me to court. If he's not paying him, and that is what I want. Because he wants me to be dragging with his age. I'm bigger than his age.
You have impugned on his reputation.
Yes, because they were the one that started
defamed him.
Yeah, they are the one that started defaming, and I did not defame him. Everything I say about him is the truth.
That's what?
Everything I've said in the past. I don't want to delve into. I know you are trying to use journalists so that I can say the things on your platform again. I will not say it. What I said, every single thing I said about him is the truth. And we are in court and I'll prove it. He wanted to take me to the level of his age. I refused. I'm on the same level with him. That's the way I'm seeing myself with him.
How?
You say how? What? The things I've achieved in my life as a human activist, he can never achieve them. Oh, being a governor now is the greatest act of service to the country. He can never. He has never seen the four walls of a prison, has he? Has he ever made any sacrifice for the country that anybody shot at him? That the military arrested him? What does he know about democracy that he's enjoying? Does he even know what democracy is? All these people in the National Assembly.
So that's the reason why you think you are...
I'm bigger than him.
You are bigger than Peter?
Yes, I'm bigger than him. because I've made more sacrifice for the country. I've almost been killed more than 17 times for democracy, fighting for democracy. What has he done aside being governor of Anambra? What has he done? What? The bank. The money they used to set the bank, where did they get the money from? Or we should start talking about it now on your.
Well, because I'm wondering.
No, the money that they used to set up the bank. That money that they used to set up the bank, where did they get the money from?
Is he illegally gotten?
No, I'm asking you, you are the journalist, go and do your research.
All right, so that was on Mike on podcast with Shewa Kimbaloye, but then it was now on Twitter, and this is what he said when he came on Twitter. Take a listen. Or when he went on Twitter.
Because if Tinubu wins again with the division, that means I've been justified at 2023. That means it is me that is seeing through their bullshit and the bullshit of their candidates. Because I said it that these guys are too greedy and they don't care about the country. If you truly care about the country, you must not be on the ballot. If you truly care about the country, you put the interests of the country above yourself.
When Nigerians vote in 2027, what should they actually be judging? Because that is a vote is a referendum.
Yes.
It's a judgment.
Let me answer the question. That's the Nigerians that can say no to rice, right? The ones that will truly vote. The ones that can say no to 5,000, 10,000. That is the people that are independent and the people that their conscience cannot be bought, the people that their votes cannot be bought. When they vote, they should think about these 4 years, these 3 years plus. If it has been good, they should vote for Tinubu. If it has been bad, they should vote for the right candidate. Even so, but you know,
is there any assurance they give that if they vote out Tinubu,
yes,
that their votes will count?
See,
is there an assurance?
If I give you an answer now, you may say I'm working for Tinubu. If I give you an answer now, you may say I'm working for Tinubu because if I give you the answer will be the truth. And you and some of the listeners will not want to hear the truth. These Nigerians that can say no to rice and say no to money, they're in the minority in the country. We need to elevate the political conversation to the level where we will now have more people that can say no to rice and say no to money more than the people that are collecting rice and money.
Let's get another part.
So in that interview, you said it's bigger than Tinubu. Bigger than Peter Obi. I don't know if he is bigger than Peter Obi, but maybe when you listen to Peter Obi, you can judge who you think is bigger between himself. I don't like comparison, but that's a conversation after all. And here's Peter Obi saying some of the most interesting things, I should say. Take a listen.
We cannot continue like this. People cannot continue to steal public money. That we need to fix schools. People cannot continue to live the life they live. I can't remember the last time any serious politician visited a university or go to anywhere. I was a student here, University of...
What kind of nonsense is this? It's university visitation that is part of our campaign strategy now. I won't play everything, just a little bit of, because I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing his voice, that's what I mean. Because I wish he was saying something that's actually inspiring, but he never does. So maybe just a little more.
Nigeria, Suka. Sheikh Shagari came from Lagos as president to visit us. It doesn't happen today. All we hear is stealing. People are stealing what they don't need, what their children don't need. And that must stop. And you report of stopping it. My Lord Bishop is building school of nursing. My Lord Bishop has a hospital. So all the bishops here, they have schools. They have schools of nursing. This is what government is supposed to do. But they're not doing it because we, the politicians, have stolen the money. We've stolen the money. And we stole the money with the encouragement. Because when we come here, you say we are His Excellency. Is a chief excellent? So where is chief excellence in Nigeria?
Well, not so around another man concerned, man humiliating. It will not tell you. Sorry, please. We have a fool who just came in. Pavik, you said something is pure madness. You're a foolish, mad person. You're a combination of foolish and mad. You see, your life is you have a clown who wants to become president. We are listening to what he has to say. You say, I hate Igbo. Are you cursed? It's a question, but I think it's rhetorical. I think you already know the answer. Now me say make your person won't become president. So if he wants to become, you should just be talking rubbish. You should say, oh, we should lap it up because the rest of us, you expect us to be as stupid as. Don't let me send you more. But about is at this point, I was okay because this guy, I don't even know why I played him last. Okay, no, I won't play him last. I want to bring people up. Before I do, let me play something sensible before I bring people up. Because why you people these doors, Ev? You have somebody who wants to become president. They are talking about what he has said and trying to see if it makes sense, which we know it doesn't make sense. Because always making himself look as if he's better than everybody. And then the Pandora Papers came out and clearly it's not necessarily better than anyone. And you came in and said, I hate Igbos. How does speaking... By the way, let me stop here, concept. Let me tell you guys something. There's a book. I like to connect these things. Ethnic politics in Nigeria. Is that what it is? I think it's between the ethnic and the national. It's a thesis by Remi Adekoya. He wrote about what happened in 1948 specifically. Zeke was messing up. People spoke up about it, and I'm trying to see if I can find a book. Oh, I think it's inside. I'd love to read you a book. Another book. But I'll tell you what's inside. Zeke was messing up in Lagos, doing nonsense, just talking anyhow. Right? Your people got tired after 10 years, began to speak up. Igbo said something that this clown just said in the comment section again. Any attack on Zeke is an attack on Igbo people. In other words, Zeke can talk ethnicity. If that's your mindset, it means you are primitive. You should not be in an environment where people are discussing ideas. Because people will go, listen, the things I say, even in the comment section, people write against what I'm saying sometimes. Just because I'm here hosting the show does not mean that I'm Alpha and Omega. Last week, when we were all here, when I said something, when someone asked a question about private and stuff, then we had to check to be sure the person was correct. People should be able to challenge what you are saying now. Just because you have a platform or you are presidential, whatever, does not mean that you know everything. So, if in your place, anybody that's your Lord and Messiah, once they speak, everybody has to say amen. Maybe you should keep that person in your lungu and be having your family meeting and regional whatever there. But if you say you're coming to Nigeria to do something, people will talk about the person. And I'm not even insulting him. And the funny thing is this, as dull as he is, a lot better than this person, this Pavik that's always coming to disturb me in the comment section. You guys are a bunch of clowns. Mama sọ̀rọ̀ bí ìgbà tí pé ẹ̀yin fọ́mọ nú kó máa sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ náà máa lọ máa bọ̀ bí ìgbà tí nǹkan mi rọlù. Okay, wọ́n kọ́ta gbọ́n sí kí ló ní ṣe pẹ̀lú nǹkan tá a fẹ́ ṣe corruption. How do you improve on productivity? How do you solve the many problems of Nigeria? No, you'll be shouting corruption. If you think that's the problem of Nigeria, they'll say, how do you give us electricity? It's corruption. How do you give us water? It's corruption. How do you give us this thing? You know, when you have talking points, you have to have character and competence and cream. Carrot, competence, character, cream, carotone. He has a talking point. But using every interview, I want a child of somebody to say there's nobody inside a place of nobody and can become everybody. That's the presidential candidate. The bar is too low in this country. And then Bangladesh, with a lot of, a huge dash of Bangladesh, China, Vietnam, Hong Kong. The crazy thing is that these clans actually think that you cannot criticize P2B. And if you do, it's because you hate Igbo people. You are dumb. I'm talking to you, Pavik. You and people like you. Lokbolo. Ati ẹ̀jẹ̀ tó tẹ̀ lọ́rọ̀ gidi kan sọ. Wọ́n á sọ̀rọ̀ náà wọ́n á sọ bí ìgbà tí nǹkan rọ̀lù. If it's not because we're even doing ethnic politics in Nigeria, why should people be thinking of becoming president? Think about it. His own people gave him almost 90% of the votes. Is ethnic politics? There are two things that he has going for him. Ethnicity, he knows how to weaponize ethnicity and how to weaponize religion. He literally said religious war in the phone call, hello, daddy. If it's not that you guys are bigoted and you go in one direction, how do you give one person almost 90%? And let me tell you something. I want to give a challenge to people from the Southeast. Since we have changed today's topic, let's stay with this. I'll bring people up in a second. A challenge to folks in the Southeast. Please give him 100% this time around. Please, I beg you. This next election, don't vote for anybody else. Give Peter Obi 100%. If you like, give him 1 billion%, he will not become president. If you want to cry, you will cry. People pander to you clowns too much. Legendary News says Tinubu did not get bulk votes from anywhere. He got same in the South. Even his own region, he got 4 out of 6. He even lost his own home state, which is not very cool. But at least you know that his people all are diverse and sophisticated. And you cannot even question. To question it means you are bigoted. It's retarded. People should be able to question what you're saying. You might learn something. I learn here, I may be here, but I'm learning in the comment section. I'm reading things in the comment section. I'm also learning. All these ones that I've not even learned anything, they'll be telling you that if you speak against him, you're speaking against ethnicity. Who is this other person? Oh, let's read pull up. I want to read Balogun Oderinlo. We'll read a bit of it today before we go. I hope we covered all the news. I think we did. All right, let's have Bumblebee. Àtẹ̀jẹ́ nǹkan tó ní nǹkan tó mú wá sí kìíní. Yeah. Legendary News says Southeast wasn't rigged. PO 2023 was the people's candidate. 1 second, Bumblebee. Let me read you a report. Bumblebee.
Hello, Prof. Can you hear me?
Oh, I could hear you, but I muted you because I thought you probably didn't realize you were up already. So let me unmute you. Okay, go ahead now, please. Someone says Southeast wasn't rigged. Listen, when you have occurrence of rigging in Nigeria, when it comes to percentages and the occurrence of rigging in Nigeria, the Southeast had the highest. While we wait for Bumblebee, let me find your report. Bumblebee, please go on. I'm going to find your report in a bit.
Okay.
Hello, Bumblebee, are you there?
So I think one of the things I'm very happy about is the minister he has in his cabinet right now. And we're laying on your anything. All those ones are ready to fight to finish. I listened to Kiamu's interview the other day, and I was like, man, I don't give them riot acts. The election season, don't boy campaign yamalo back to back, my phone close marking broke. So people come out and is it wicked that is not going to come out and talk? Is it Festus Kiamu that will not come out and talk? Is it all these ministers that are working? Is it Dave Umai that will not come out and talk? Oh my woro. Everybody my boss right now that's what's going to happen. And I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of how far they've come. So that's just my little contribution this evening, Prof.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Bumblebee, for that brilliant submission. And thanks to those who gave Bumblebee gifts. Greater me, thank you so much. That was good. All right. I referred to this article last week. I didn't read it, so let me read a portion of it. I'll tell you the title later. It's on Substack. If you go to our Redomi Global Telegram channel, Redomi Global, REDOMI Global on Telegram, you find a link in the learning material section. It's a Substack link. All right? It's titled, Did Tinubu win fair and square in 2023? This article is actually the central question of the author's master's dissertation. And he used data analysis and it trained several algorithms to know where the Enrique pass for this country last election. May I read to you waiting into? Just a very quick one, because of the people in the comment section who are saying interesting things. Because if I say when I talk, it's better to read. Statistical tests are powerful, but they examine one thing at a time. Machine learning examines dozens of features simultaneously: how votes distribute across parties, whether turnout correlates suspiciously with vote shares, whether results cluster at round numbers, whether arithmetic adds up correctly. I trained several algorithms, including random forest classifiers and something wonderfully named isolation forest. These models flagged 4,351 polling units as anomalous, 3.5% of all units analyzed. Small percentage you might think, but we are talking about potentially hundreds of thousands of votes in an election decided by 7.4 percentage points nationally. Please pay attention. And here's where it gets interesting. These anomalies were not randomly scattered. They clustered hard. Anambra State showed an anomaly rate of 24.9%. Nearly 1 in 4 polling units displayed multiple fraud indicators. Enugu came in at 16.7%. Imo at 10.9%. These are not rounding error or statistical noise. These are neon signs visible from space. For comparison, Lagos, despite being the political home of the winning candidate, showed an anomaly rate of 2.3%, or your recorded 0.3%. Or your 0.3, Lagos 2.3, Anambra 24.9% of anomaly rate. See, when you come, and this is the sad part, they are the ones that are telling everybody that they rigged everywhere, When they looked at the anomaly rates in the 5 states of the Southeast, I put the flag out. Please go to the Telegram channel so you can see it for yourself. You know what? Let me show you something. This is the map of Nigeria, right? The anomaly rate for 2023 Nigerian presidential elections by state. The darker the shade, the darker the colors you see here, the more or the higher the anomaly rate in those states. So generally, it's supposed to be like cream. Then it gets darker in some places, like it becomes like sand, or just a bit slightly darker. By the time you get to southeast, it has become orange, purple, and violet. Look at this. Jerry. No. I have to take it up so you can see it at the top. So that's it. That's you see where the south is, you see the cluster. I've said it several times. One of the things I've noticed about someone that just came in right now, this one also has mental problem. Let me just mute you, because I don't have time for, this is not talk about really. If you broke out of the asylum, go and meet the people who are having connections with mad people. Take advice from the madman. Go and meet that person. I cannot be me the man who really. Whenever they talk, they project. Every accusation is a confession. Every accusation is a confession. You are a thief, the person is a thief. You rigged, the person rigged. You hate, the person hates. You are a bigot, the person is a bigot. They accuse you of what they are. How is it that a region that has the highest in terms of anomalies, all right, in terms of occurrence of rigging in this country in last election, calls every other person bad and they accuse every other person of rigging? Anyway, let's finish this thing before we go on to other things. So it says here, I'll read that part again, then move on to some other paragraphs because it helps to understand politics. Last election. Anambra State showed an anomaly rate of 24.9%. That's nearly 1 in 4 polling units displayed multiple fraud indicators. So almost 25%. Almost a quarter. Enugu came in at 16.7%. Imo at 10.9%. Then it says, for comparison, Lagos, despite being the political home of the winning candidate, showed an anomaly rate of just 2.3%, and Oyo recorded 0.3%. The pattern contradicts the simple narrative that the ruling party rigged it everywhere. The data suggests something more complex and frankly more worrying. Electoral manipulation is geographically concentrated, crosses party lines, and seems to follow opportunity rather than ideology. When I have your time, I'll let you know. I'll just mute you for 5 minutes. Hopefully that will reset your brain before then. Where was I? The pattern contradicts the simple narrative that, quote, the ruling party rigged it everywhere, end of quote. The data suggests something more complex and frankly more worrying. Electoral manipulation is geographically concentrated, crosses party lines, and seems to follow opportunity rather than ideology. Another thing to note is that this only covers analysis for uploaded results sheet. The actual numbers that were announced by INEC in some cases are at significant variance, indicating additional manipulation. Then the biggest example is Rivers State, which the Labour Party won but was called for APC in the final tally. Here's a twist that should make everyone uncomfortable. The Labour Party, not the ruling APC, showed the highest concentration of irregularities in its strongholds. LP had 2,328 instances of what I call perfect scores, which means results clustering at suspiciously round percentages like 50% or 75%, despite winning only 29.1% of votes nationally. LP accounted for more than its share of statistical red flags. What they're saying basically is this: when you go do election, you cannot be winning 50%, 75%, rounded figures. You could be 21.2%, 29.3%, 26.7%, 50.9%, 70.2%. No, the only is 50%. What go? 50%. What can Kobe 75%? What can Kobe? This finding complicates the popular narrative. It suggests that electoral fraud in Nigeria 2023 was not a one-sided affair orchestrated from Aso Rock. Multiple actors engaged in manipulation where they could. The southeastern concentration suggests that the very regions crying loudest about being cheated may themselves have been sites of significant irregularities. The above should not be confused, and this is a very good point. The above should not be confused with the fact that Peter Obi was not popular in the southeast. In fact, it was extremely popular. It is precisely that hegemonic popularity that provided cover for electoral manipulation. In a contested space, it is much more difficult. I read all of that because somebody came in and was shouting, rigging, rigging, rigging. You don't know what you are talking about. I think all the political parties rigged, and there's nothing good about people rigging. Just to be clear, I don't subscribe to it. But one of the things I hate in this Nigerian politics is how the worst person claims to be holier than every other person. He's worse, so he's the worst, not even worse. He's the worst. He rigged the most. He will now accuse the other so that they can take their eyes off of him. I want anything. Now that I'm done with that, let's now go to what I really want to talk about. Let's just read this book. Not much, just a few pages. We've been talking about it for a while. I think today we should broach the topic. It's this man. His name is Balogun Oderinlo. All right. He was one of the people who helped Yoruba people to stop the advancing Fulani military back in the 19th century. And this was written by one of his descendants, Niyi Aborishade. The book is titled Balogun Oderinlo in Yoruba History. So we'll be talking about reading this for a bit. I'll just read some parts of it and then we'll call it a day. All right. Tomorrow we're going to do more history than news. We have some books to read and we have some things to discuss. All right. So let's get started. Of course, I'm not going to read the entire book. So if you want to get everything, you can get the book on Redomi Books or Telegram. Redomi Books Telegram channel. We have different sections, so I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. But this helps because it at least introduces us to the book itself, and we take as much as we can from the book. So I'm not going to read the part about about Ife and how it came to be and so on and so forth, or his motivations and things like that. I'm just going to go straight to page 18 of the book. Ige Adubi was born at Itakpa Ogboni, Ile Ife. He gave birth to Lafiyan, and Lafiyan gave birth to Oderinlo. Oderinlo was the father of Odeyinka, the warrior of Ibadan, who led the army that delivered Yoruba land from the Fulani jihadists. Let me pause for a second, just to make sure that we end something before we go to the other things. Please let's power tap. Just a little housekeeping. If you're on TikTok, please power tap, like the live, and I want to thank Tidan for the gifts, for the many gifts. I noticed a lot of them. Thank you very much for your support and for your consistency. So it's a consistent support. God bless you. If you're on TikTok, please give. Also click on this heart icon if you're on TikTok and drop your heart to me if you can. Drop gifts so that we can push the live to the FYP together. This one. I'm a bit far from the screen today. Let's get closer. Closer. Let's sing it. Look over, Oxlade. Closer. All right, it's closer. So this one, please click on, yes, this heart icon. Click on it. If you're on TikTok, let's drop heart to me, let's drop gifts, let's push the live to the FYP together. If you're on YouTube and on Facebook, please like the live and share. If you're on Twitter, please like and repost. So let's get into this book. We're going to read about a man who led the army that saved Yoruba people. He was actually leading Ibadan army, but Ibadan people were the ones who actually saved the rest of us at that particular point in Yoruba history. Let's get back into this. The cool thing about it, though, interestingly, is that he originally was an Ife man. His father was an Ife man. They still have a family compound in Ife. Interestingly, I was on Twitter last week, and some people were discussing his ancestry, and someone was saying he's from here. I'm not going to mention the towns that they're bringing up. It's from here, it must be from here. One of the things I think we have to change in our day is, so if you're not sure, and there are many things we're not sure of, right? Please ask questions and also research so that we're all on the same page, rather than, it's like your word against mine when there's actually data that you can rely on. So let's rely on data. Let's read now. We'll start again. Balogun Oderinlo in Yoruba history by Niya Borishade. Ige Adubi was born at Itakpa Ogboni, Ile Ife. He gave birth to Lafiyan, and Lafiyan gave birth to Oderinlo. Oderinlo was the father of Odeyinka, the warrior of Ibadan, who led the army that delivered Yoruba land from the Fulani jihadists. Oderinlo was born in Itakpa Ogboni at the Olu compound in Ile Ife. The date of his birth is unknown. Oderinlo, the father of Odeyinka, was married to Oyeniun. His father was from the hunters and farmers lineage, and he himself was a powerful hunter in line with the profession of his ancestors, as his name implied. Ile Ife is generally accepted as the cradle of the Yoruba. Let's just move from here to the part where it's talking about their own history because of time. So we talked about the weapons that we use in the warfare, and so on and so forth. Let's just go straight to chapter 2. Oderinlo, the Ile Ife-born hunter, his wife, and some relatives migrated to Ilorin. Before Oderinlo, who would later become famous as the Ibadan warrior, was born, the oracle had foretold that the pregnancy of Oderinlo's wife would produce a great child, and the name that would be given to the child would be any name that comes out of their mouth immediately after he was born. When Oderinlo was born, his father was not around, having gone to the forest to hunt games. The people around were asking the mother where the father of the newborn baby, Ode, abbreviation for Oderinlo, was. She replied that he had wandered away. In other words, Oderinlo. The hunter had wandered off, rather. Sorry, it says, let me take it again. When Oderinlo was born, his father was not around, having gone to the forest to hunt games. The people around were asking the mother where the father of the newborn baby, Ode, was. She replied that he had wandered away. The herbalist who was present and who also served as midwife thus automatically pronounced Oderinlo, the hunter, had wandered off. That became the name of the newborn, since the first statement of the mother literally means Oderinlo. When the senior Oderinlo arrived on the scene and saw the newborn, he was informed by the herbalist that the child's name had been confirmed accidentally by the mother, and since the oracle had foretold this long before his birth, the senior Oderinlo accepted and gave the baby the name Odeyinka. Hunters abound in my surrounding. He declared that since his father was a hunter and he was one too, Oderinlo Odeyinka was a remarkable name for a child under the circumstance. His parents, in accordance with tradition, took him to a herbalist for divination. Actually, divination is by priests. Let me just pause to say something. Yoruba people, let's also, just something to correct. Nobody knows everything. So, herbalists don't say unconscious divination. Herbalists are pharmacists. Think of them as pharmacists, chemists, doctors. They deal with herbs and barks and stuff to create the medicine and drugs that you can use for your well-being. Then you have diviners, right? Diviners they could be priests, but they're the ones that you go to know what's up for divination. All right. There are three different professions that I think we mix up in Yoruba land a lot. There is Onishegun, there is Babalawo, and then there is Adaunse. Onishegun is the herbalist. And Onishegun, Onishegun. And the Ogun is not Ogun Juju. That's not really what the Ogun means. It could be that, but generally speaking, Onishegun is somebody that makes the medicine that you use for your well-being. Okay? So the same way you go to your doctor or you go to the pharmacy, that's what Onishegun are. Native healers, herbalists. Babalawo are the diviners. They are also priests. They divine. They're able to tell you, they're able to foretell, they're able to read the signs. Anomashe at the center Omo, which is what he's trying to refer to. That's Babalawo's work. Alright? That's one. Then the third one is Adaunse. Adaunse are people who are specialists in mystic arts. Okay? Mystic arts. Sometimes the things they are doing, God said, may be, what's the word now? May be unethical in certain spaces, but they know how to share munka. There are people who are able to do the three. Some, in most cases in Yoruba land, you see a lot of people don't say major say Babalawo, one day they say Onishegun. But it doesn't mean that every Onishegun is Babalawo. Onishegun is different from Babalawo. But there are Babalawo who are Onishegun. Alright? But you can be an Onishegun and not be a Babalawo. Adaunse, they dabble into mysticism. Okay? They are able to use all kinds of spiritual things to get certain things done. And some people will go and meet Adaunse and say they've gone to a Babalawo. Babalawo is not necessarily an Adaunse, although there are some Babalawos who are also Adaunse. Okay? Someone says guesswork. Not necessarily guesswork, but like their work is beyond divination, right? They can change certain things using certain powers to get certain things done without having to go deep. I think you understand. Okay. And they may not even follow the laid down rules that you have in your Ifa corpus, or okay, we went to, for you to be a Babalawo, for instance, you have to go to school. Some will spend 8, 10, some people 15 years studying, memorizing, learning, observing. That's what you have to go through to be a diviner, a Babalawo. Onishegun also learn. All of them learn. But Adaunse can go beyond what you have learned in that thing. And Tojubole, just learn different things, mix different things. Can get something from India, add to something from Mali, something from our land. Just mix everything and get things done. So you have to have conversation with him if you go and meet an Adaunse. Anyway, I said that to say that when he said that they took the baby to the herbalist for divination, that's not really correct. Just to explain. But let's go back to the book now. So it says his parents, in accordance with tradition, took him to a herbalist for divination. So they would have taken him to a priest, not a herbalist. They took him to a Babalawo for divination to find out what the future holds for him. That's what we call Esentaye Omo. God bless you, Ades. Oman yiwo pada. Exactly. Omo vi so pa ayi da pada. Converse ogon ni. Àwọn adáhunṣe ló máa ń yíwọ́ padà. Thank you for bringing that up. So let's go back to this. His parents, in accordance with tradition, took him to, we say a priest, because it's not herbalist, for divination to find out what the future holds for him. It was common practice in those days that when a new baby was born, the parents would consult the herbalist and by the way, we also have to, there's something we do when I was in school. We try to use our own words rather than use Oyinbo words. So instead of saying they'll go to, I'll just say they'll go to Babalawo. Okay? And they're not necessarily astrologers. I think the person is also trying to explain things from Oyinbo perspective. But in reality, there are certain words that it's better to write it in our own. For instance, if I want to write Akara is not being cake. If you want to write Babalawo, just write Babalawo. The same way I don't have Yoruba for pizza, you don't have to have Oyinbo for Akara. That kind of thing. So it's not everything you have in your culture that you can actually interpret into English language. So just say Babalawo, then you can now write note, footnote. I'm doing as if we're having lectures. Sorry, let's just continue. I was talking as though I'm talking to a group of writers. Where were we, Jerry? Sorry. His parents, in accordance with tradition, took him to a herbalist for divination. It was common practice in those days that when a new baby was born, the parents would consult the herbalist or astrologers to know the destiny of the child. In the case of Oderinlo, his parents were informed by the herbalist that the oracle had revealed that the young child would not only be famous, but would be a man of war. Please power tap on TikTok. It was equally revealed that the boy was destined to promote the greatness and survival of the Yoruba race. They were advised that he would encounter many troubles, but he would overcome them. Akosejaye, yes, Odunkala. I'm coming up with Esentaye, but Akosejaye is definitely better, because it's more explicit. So they said they were advised that he would encounter many troubles, but he would overcome them. On reaching maturity, Oderinlo himself became a hunter and a brave one indeed. He started following his father into the forest to hunt games, and any time that his father refused to take him, he would come back empty-handed. Oderinlo would then go alone and drag in animals by foot to the village. By the age of 15, Oderinlo was purportedly carried away by Aja. I like the way he wrote this one, by Aja, in brackets, spirit of whirlwind. So it says, by the age of 15, Oderinlo was purportedly carried away by Aja for 90 days. According to the prevailing myth of the period, it was not uncommon in those days for the spirits to abduct some anointed or powerful people from the habitation of man to his spiritual habitation to teach them wisdom in the use of herbs. Some were returned and some were never seen again or were released to a far place. In the case of Oderinlo, he was returned after 90 days and came back with 3 strange things. Number 1, a staff. Number 2, a fortified pigeon. Number 3, a sign. That's God of herbal medicine, evoked as the one who sees everything like Olodumare. The 3 things served different purposes but would later be united in helping him at war. The staff, according to history, was to command the spirits to appear in human form and help him. By the way, let me just say something. Sometimes, if you're writing stories, please, sometimes we also should try and understand the difference between myth and history, because myth one can idea. I'm not going to say it's a myth. I'm not going to tell you which one is myth, but I'll leave that to your own judgment. That's why I heard somebody last week saying that in France, I think it was Father Dennis. Sorry, I like to use something to compare. I like to compare, concepts so that we can understand things better. The man was saying, we need the powers of old. Like in France, back in the day, they were persecuting Father Dennis, and while he was preaching, somebody cut off his head, and he held the head, and the head started preaching, and that he walked miles until, the severed head was preaching, until he now lost the blood and died, and he was using that to tell all of us, get back in the spirit of preaching the word of God. It's a myth. It's not a true life story. The man was killed for preaching the gospel. But that other story, they weave that story around him to, I mean, myth serves different purposes, and there's nothing wrong with myth. But you should know that it is myth. So I'll not be looking for somebody carrying it all over the place. Anyway, so when they say Ajagbelo from 90 days, you never find any proof. You just, but you know that the thing they're trying to say is this. Let me tell you what you can get from it, or how you can understand this. It was away for 90 days. It could be. That's why he even wrote purportedly. It could be that Kongbelo, and it could be that Ajagbelo. So let's continue. So he says that the three things he brought serve different purposes, but will later be united in helping him at war. The staff, according to history, was to command the spirits to appear in human form and help him in battle. There were some words of incantation that he was trained to chant when using the staff. The staff is still in the family house till date. Again, the author of this book is a descendant of Oderinlo. The pigeon was a fortified and trained bird that he could always send on an errand and to act like a spy or deliver messages unnoticed. You've seen Game of Thrones. Oh dear. I know it too. If I see the first letter, I'll remember. Who knows the birds that they were using for communication in Game of Thrones? God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Raven, crow. So, maybe something like that. One of the beautiful things about studying European history is that they're able to break it down into, you can train the birds to do this. But for some reason, when we discuss our own history, all those things are always supernatural. There's a problem there, to be fair. We'll talk about it some other time. And I'm not saying they cannot be supernatural. I'm just saying that we also don't usually acknowledge innovation because and by the way, our fathers use supernatural explanations of mysticism in order to shroud the real thing that happened so that and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that as you grow older, you begin to ask questions so that you'll be able to now train things instead of just saying that it does not in any way reduce what the man did, by the way. I hope people understand what I'm saying. So I'm not trying to temper well. Just to say that some things can be explained so that they can be replicated. Anyway, it says the pigeon was a fortified and trained bird so it says trained, good, that he could always send on an errand and to act like spy or deliver messages unnoticed. The Osonye, on the other hand, could see many things that humans cannot see. He foresees and foretells. More will be discussed about this later. Oderinlo was born in Ilorin around 1770, before Afonja moved to Ilorin. Ilorin had been populated by the Yorubas before Afonja made his home there. Afonja relocated to Ilorin. By the way, Afonja's grandfather, Laderin, I want rule Ilorin. Afonja is not the first. I'm dabbling into many things. Afonja was not the first of his family to live in Ilorin, just to be clear. His grandfather, his father, had led Ilorin. Afonja moved to Ilorin. Ilorin had been populated by the Yorubas before Afonja made his home there. Afonja relocated to Ilorin when he became the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò. Generalissimo or Field Marshal to Aláàfin of Oyo Empire. It was after the death of Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò, Oyalabi, that Afonja demanded to be installed as Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò. Every Aláàfin of Oyo is a descendant of Odùduwà, and at that time, Aláàfin Awólọ́wọ̀ was on the throne of his fathers. Ilorin had been established before the 18th century, but became famous in the 18th century. Ilorin, now the capital of modern Kwara State, covers a land area of 765 square kilometers. It was established by the Yoruba before Afonja was made the garrison commander of the town. He was not the first non-ruler of the town. I'm trying to also jump something, so I won't have to be explaining. Which of the words Oderinlo fighting? It was Oshogbo War. 1840. Let's just continue. Under the imperial Oyo tradition, Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò must not live in the same city with Aláàfin because both were authorities in their own right, though the Aláàfin of Oyo was the king and superior in all ramifications. The Alaafin of Oyo was the only king that could confer the title of Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò on any warrior based on his prowess at war. Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò was the highest military title, as stated earlier. It was during the reign of Alaafin Aole that Ilorin became an outpost of Oyo Empire and its military headquarters. As the military outpost of Oyo Empire, all other warlords in Yoruba land were under Afonja, and any time the Alaafin wanted to go to war with any state or people, he would order his Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò to levy war on such a people. It was Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò Afonja who started and led the rebellion in 1870 that destroyed the old Oyo Empire. Oderinlo and his military career. Oderinlo grew up into a tall, dark-skinned, and good-looking man. He had already made his mark by the time he joined the army. As a youth, he liked hunting big animals like buffaloes, elephants, leopards, and lions. His parents fortified him with charms and prepared him well for the future. The revelation that the oracle gave them still lingered in their hearts. Oderinlo grew up under the wings of his parents and families in a place that they named Ajagba. I hope it's Ajagba or Ajagba. It sounds like Ajagba. Ajagba compound at Okeofa, Baba Sale, Ibadan. A genuine Ibadan indigene must have a village and compound in the town or metropolis. This genius action made easy the links between his family at Ajagba Ilorin and Ajagba Ibadan. The history and genealogy are well connected. I'm wondering if I should just jump. Okay, let's just keep reading. The Ajagba of Ilorin was a place founded by the Oderinlos. Oderinlo became a strong and mighty hunter. He was enlisted in Afonja's regiment and quickly proved his mettle and showed himself a brave warrior. 1 second, please. All right. Oderinlo was a member of Afonja's troops who went with him on expedition to Iwerele at the behest of the Alaafin Aole. It was this expedition that created enmity between Alaafin Aole and Afonja. In that the expedition was uncalled for and a suicide mission. In effect, Alaafin Aole meant destruction for Afonja and some of his strong lieutenants, including Onikoyi. Alaafin Aole saw these people as a threat. Iwerele was the maternal town of King Ajagbo, a former Alaafin of Oyo. King Ajagbo had put a curse on anyone who attacks the home of his mother. It was Alaafin Ajagbo that created the title of Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò. It was therefore a taboo to attack the city, and Alaafin Aole knew this. Afonja was set up to prosecute the war against Iwerele. After some attacks on some small villages and towns, Afonja found himself in Iwerele and was caught by surprise. Though a siege was raised against Iwerele, the siege was lifted as the order of the Alaafin could not be carried out. That was how rebellion broke out against the Alaafin. Alaafin Aole committed suicide when the siege was raised against him in Oyo by the Afonja, Bashorun, and Onikoyi alliance. Oyo was attacked by the above-mentioned chiefs. Alaafin Aole fought well and resisted the invaders, but as the battle raged on and it became hopeless, he decided to pay the supreme sacrifice by committing suicide. However, before committing suicide, he rained curses on Afonja and the Yoruba in general. No. When they use the word, people have been saying this thing a lot. It's not, there was never a time when the entire Yoruba land was under Alaafin. By the way, I don't have these conversations for superiority claim. I'm just making something very clear. There was never a time when the entire Yoruba land was under Alaafin. So people say things like, Aole curse Yoruba people. Aole may be cursing people that he ruled over. Okay? Definitely will not be able to curse people that have nothing to do with their own issues. Meanwhile, it's a stuff of legend anyway. But before we continue, I need to switch this audio source so that we can have, we don't have disruption. So please oblige me.
you can hear me. Sounds good.
Hello? It sounds good. It's sounding off. 1 second, please.
1 second, please. Hello?
All right, let's go on. Can you hear me? It's echoing, Abby. Is it better now? I think I fixed the issue. Is it better now, please? If I don't change it, it's going to go off. All right, thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, so let's continue from where we stopped. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thank you. So we're reading the book Balogun, Oderinlo in Yoruba History by Ni Aborishade. Again, he is a descendant of the man and is writing his story. So we are today be talking about Aláàfin àti bó ṣe bí kábíyèsí ṣe ṣígbà. Èèyàn máa ń sọ̀rọ̀ pé èèyàn kan ń ṣépè fún gbogbo ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. All those words láàrin Yorùbá. Láti ìgbà náà, those things are big. People have been fighting before Awole was born. Okay? One Yoruba subgroup has been fighting under Yoruba subgroup before Awole was born. Sometimes people try to explain things after somebody passes on to give kimmy or weight to certain things that happened. Anyway, just to tell you that nobody cursed you. If one was going to curse people, probably curse his own people. But even then, I'm sure the elders have done something since that time. Someone says the curse was for your people, it has to be now. But even then, that was doing now. I don't think I think if elders hear that our conscious won't get fun, they will not just be saying it as a form of story, like it's irreversible now. And the idea of I've been hearing that since I was a child. Before him, before Awole, we were fighting. When he was here, we were fighting each other. After him, we fought. And then after a while, we stopped. Thanks to Pax Britannica and, the end of Kiriji War, and everything changed. And we're not the only ones who have gone through that kind of thing. It happened also in the Greek city-states. All right? By me, you just assume that I the only one. I think there about a lot of what come on. So it's not like people say things like come on down, let's say you man shake on. One day I heard it years ago and I was actually pissed. Yoruba people were saying it with like Yoruba people it was Brutus, a Yoruba man, the one who betrayed Caesar, Julius Caesar, was a Yoruba man. One thing. And if you have a place where read Machiavelli, The Prince. Once you have structure, be bar and courts, and people have to play politics, you will see that happen now. When you play politics at a high level, a lot of betrayal will happen. It has nothing to do with ethnicity. It's about the system. If you read Laws of Power, just read 48 Laws of Power. I speak very fast. If you read 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, and you read The Prince by Machiavelli, some of those things, but some of those things happen in Florence, in Italy. It doesn't mean that it's a Yoruba thing, it's a human thing. If you have kingdoms, you have kings, palaces, courts, it will happen. It's politics. Anyway, let's go on. So it says that because the descendants of I don't like all those things. I don't like it because it costs less. I mean, even if you curse people, say, you said people should go and be fighting a town that another king said nobody should go and fight. They now said they're not going to fight those people again. No. Onwa Shigun, Sioba, you now curse them. We're going to look for it because on a normal day, why on earth would you go to Iwerele? When you know that Oba Jagbo, that's his mother's hometown, and he has said nobody should attack that town. So that means that even the king that's Shekwe himself, he should be Shekwe for, let's just, let's go on. Afonja and his warriors returned to Ilorin after the death of Aole. Ilorin's independence and crisis in Yoruba land. Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò Afonja proclaimed the independence of Ilorin, and Opele Bale of Bogun proclaimed the independence of Bogun. Afonja refused to recognize the order of the newly installed Aláàfin of Ọ̀yọ́ and became the authority of Ọ̀yọ́. Let me also quickly say this, although it's not part of today's topic, that Afonja wanted to be Aláàfin because on his mother's side, he's connected to the throne of Ọ̀yọ́. When Aole became Aláàfin, he wanted to be Aláàfin. After Aole, he also tried to be Aláàfin. So it didn't just go from, in fact, it didn't just go from, oh, I'm not going to be Aláàfin, I want to start my own. He tried about 3 times. They just didn't pick him. And because of that, he got angry and said he was going to create his own capital, Ilorin. But that's a story for another day. It's just that this man is going to tell us about Ilorin. The reason is because it gives you the backstory or provides the background to the rise of Oderinlo. So you're not discussing Oderinlo in a vacuum, right? Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò Afonja proclaimed the independence of Ilorin, and Opele Bale of Bogun proclaimed the independence of Bogun. Afonja refused to recognize the order of the newly installed Aláàfin of Ọ̀yọ́ and became the authority of his own. The action commenced the destruction of Ọ̀yọ́ Empire as other towns that had been tributaries to the Aláàfin of Ọ̀yọ́ followed suit and stopped paying tribute again. Thus, many independent states declared their independence. Oderinlo had one wife in Ilorin, being a handsome and prosperous young man. This man is actually Osa his independence. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Oderinlo had one wife in Ilorin, being a handsome and prosperous young man. Nevertheless, he was under constant trouble with many fair ladies who wanted him as husband, but he did not succumb to them. He was highly respected in the community. Though he was initially of lower ranks among the soldiers of Afonja, but he was full of wisdom and was well treated by the elders. He commanded respect among his peers too. Afonja had confidence in him, and he quickly moved up the ladder and gained promotion. Oderinlo took part in the suppression of Ojo Agumbambaru, one of the surviving sons of the late despot Bashorunga. Ojo Agumbambaru should be distinguished from Ojo Aburumaku, who was a grandson of Bashorunga and who became Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò at Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́. It happened that when the house of Bashorunga was to be annihilated on the command of Aláàfin Abiodun, Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò Oyalabi led his regiment against Bashorunga, who was a thorn in the flesh of the previous Aláàfin of Ọ̀yọ́ and a threat to Aláàfin Abiodun himself. Afonja was then in the regiment of Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò Oyalabi and was part of those who destroyed the Bashorunga and his family. I'll tell that again. He was part of those who destroyed Bashorunga and his family. Ojo Agumbambaru, son of Bashorunga, managed to escape to the land of Bariba. By the way, Bashorunga himself was a Bariba man. In the courts of the Aláàfin, the Oyomesi, it's not all of them. I mean, some of them were not Yoruba. So Bashorunga was Bariba. Alakpini was Nupe. They are setting, because, oh boy, I'm changing topic. At the founding of Oyo, let me actually say this in passing. We've talked about how Ife was founded several times, right? How you have 13 communities, and then Oduduwa came around and put all of them together and became the very first king of a united Ife. But the same thing was what his grandson did in Oyo. That was Oromio. There were communities present in Oyo at the time already. There were, most of them, of course, were Yoruba, but there were also Bariba and Nupe communities in that area. So he brought them together the same way his grandfather brought people together. You found what I'm saying, for instance, in the book by Professor Professor Akinwumi Ogundiran. Yoruba, the new history. So there were communities there, right? So when they had the Omesi, some of those communities also had representatives. So Bashorunga, all right, they were Bariba. Okay, which is I'm also saying to us as Yoruba people, regardless of Nigeria's politics, while of course we have to be dynamic and not be stuck in history, we should also acknowledge the greatness of our fathers. The idea of where one should like one mix with other ethnicities did not start in this century. It's been around for a long time. As a matter of fact, it predates Oromio himself. But the point is, when Oromio got to Oyo, there were Nupe communities, there were Bariba communities, there were, of course, it was majorly Yoruba. So what he did was to bring everybody together, create a town, a large space, just exactly like his grandfather did, and then became Alafi. So the point I'm trying to make is that Omo Bashorunga ran to Baruba is like the way it is this. So you have, let me use this way. Let me explain. I want to explain this way. I'm not saying this exactly, but it's going to help to understand this way. Imagine you have a Baruba homeland, then you have Baruba communities. So the majority of the people, of course, will be in the homeland, just like in Nupe as well. So if you run away from Oyo and you go back, even though you have communities in Oyo, you have a place where essentially. Although Ile not Oyo, but you get the point I'm trying to make. It's able to run back to the Baruba people. And there are many Yoruba people, for instance, who also had such identities. A very good example is Oborele Mosho, Shon Ogunlola. He was actually a Baruba man. Okay. So again, that's why I always tell us that when it comes to assimilation, acculturation, integration as Yoruba people, it is something that we've perfected over many centuries, which is why we cannot afford to sound like primitives when we discuss concepts like that, even though we also have to be very wary of certain people who want to use that as an advantage to get into our spaces. So we have to find that balance essentially. All right. So let's get back to the book. For reading Balogun Oderinlo in Yoruba history by Nia Borishade, he says here, it happened that when the house of Bashorunga was to be annihilated on the command of Alaafin Abiodun, Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò Oyalabi led his regiment against Bashorunga, who was a thorn in the flesh of Alaafin, in the flesh of the previous Alaafin of Oyo, and a threat to Alaafin Abiodun himself. One day we should read about Oyo. But let's continue. Afonja was then in the regiment of Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò Oyalabi and was part of those destroyed by Bashorunga and his family. Ojuagu Bambaru, son of Bashorunga, managed to escape to the land of Bariba, where he became great and fortified himself with charms. He built himself there a great army and returned to Oyo to avenge his father. Having killed most of his father's enemies in Oyo, he decided to launch an attack against Afonja. The sun was shining, and since men bow down to the sun, which is shining, rather than the one yet to rise, he gained ascendancy over many towns. Even Adedeji, the Onikoyi, who was a friend of Afonja, joined forces with him, having heard secretly that Ojo had promised to return to destroy his town once he finished with Afonja. Adegun's support was therefore born out of fear, since he knew he was a marked man. Afonja with his troops, which included Oderinlo, met the large and organized army of Ojuagu Bambaru at the outskirts of the town. Afonja and his valiant warriors fought brilliantly, and Oderinlo once again proved himself as a brave warrior, even when other brave warriors of Afonja retreated. He stood with Afonja to repel the gruesome attack. However, despite the spirited efforts of Afonja and Oderinlo, the heat of the war was too much for them. Ojuagu Bambaru was a real war general and great military tactician. His group therefore retreated to Ilorin. Afonja then held a council of war meeting on how to defend the town. Some of Afonja warriors even campaigned for surrender so as to save the town from total destruction. But many brave officers led by Oderinlo refused to surrender and strengthened Afonja. Afonja planned his own strategy to turn the tide of the battle. He decided to mount a covert operation. Afonja sent Oderinlo to Adedeji, the Onikoyi, secretly to challenge him on why he gave his support to Ojo against him, who happened to be his friend. He requested him to withdraw his support from Ojo and desert him. He used the years of their friendship as an excuse. Adedeji was a very good friend of Afonja, but his initial support for Ojo was born out of fear and not from his heart. Oderinlo delivered the message and returned to Afonja with the assurance of Onikoyi's support. Everything was done in secret and under the cover of darkness. They swore an oath of secrecy. Ilorin was surrounded by Ojo's army and was nearly taken, but Adedeji, a true friend of Afonja who had become part of Ojo's army, now gave way and withdrew his own warriors in the heat of the battle. In accordance with the secret arrangement that he made with Afonja when the latter sent Oderinlo to him, it was a brilliant tactical move from him, having concealed his plan from Ojo until this time. It was this move that saved Afonja and Ilorin. Ojo lost the initiative, as it is well known that in war you either advance or retreat. There is no room for complacency. Ojo retreated as the more courageous Afonja and his army seized the opportunity and became ruthless. Oderinlo led some brave warriors of Ilorin and chased the enemy out of the town. Ojo finally returned to Bariba, having lost faith and confidence of his army. Moreover, he felt betrayed by his army. Ojo never became anything later. He was unable to muster any army to avenge his father or capture Ilorin. His men deserted him and joined other warlords. So, despite his bravery and well-articulated plan, the wisdom of Afonja in sending Oderinlo to Adegun the Onikoyi of Ikoyi proved decisive as to the outcome of the battle. Afonja became stronger and became haughty after this battle. He was not listening to the counsel of his generals anymore. Chapter 3. The Fulani on the scene. In the days of the Empire, the Fulani had been coming to Ilorin, bringing Islamic religion to the people. Let me stop and say something. No, need. Just to say, I have to say it. It was not Fulani that brought. That's not what he's saying, but that's what people make out of it. Fulani did not bring Islam to Yoruba land, though. Islam was Yoruba land before Fulani even got to Hausa land. Okay. All right. They comported themselves so well that Yoruba started converting to Islam. That's the message he gives is like, Islam wa, the Muslim to Islam wa, Islam wa le Yoruba. Wọ́n jẹ́ ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí wo ẹ̀sìn Mùsùlùmí náà tó ń pè ní àwọn Amadi, àwọn pọ̀ ní àwọn ìmọ̀lẹ̀. Tẹ́ bá gbọ́ pọ́n pẹ̀kọ́ ní ẹ̀sìn mọ́lẹ̀. I know some people have said, that's why it's very difficult. You have to be very careful with using etymology to explain everything in Yoruba language. Like wisdom. Knowledge. It's not knowledge. It's imole as now when you're Mali or Mali. So I'm long base. Working sound Fulani now in your copy. That is the most. Okay, so that's it. I know I'm reading a book, but I as well just correct some things. It's okay. The Fulani had expanded from Futatoro in Lower Senegal in the 14th century. From there, they moved to Hausa land in northern Nigeria, where they conquered and subjugated the Hausa people. The Yoruba tribe, I read the book, I'll try not to stop. Let's just say Orisha. I won't use that because it means something. Orisha were intermediaries between the people and supreme. Fulani, on the other hand, projected themselves as peaceful people and docile. They did not look threatening. Neither did they show interest in material things of the world, save their Quran and the beads. They camouflaged themselves with their religion, and people fell for it. After them place to stay. Their leader was Sheikh Alimi, an Islamic scholar and a descendant of Usman and Fodio. Alimi put himself at Afonja's disposal and became his friend. He later became priest to Afonja. Alimi directed his servants to enlist in Afonja's army and infiltrated his stronghold. Afonja was ably assisted by the Fulani warriors in many of his expeditions. So let me just explain. So what happened in TV? Wanted an army, wanted men, and the Fulani were ready available. All right, and there were those that moved down south, the house as well. What brought them together was not necessarily just Fulani. There was Fulani, but there was also Islam. And that's why they were called Jama. Someone says, I think because it's not about Afonja story, it just did not give the exactly. So which are just maybe it's not even about the details. Afonja put his trust in them. So he says Afonja was ably assisted by the Fulani warriors in many of his expeditions. The reason he's saying Fulani here is this. By the time that it was a Fulani hegemony using Islam as a cover. But before they created that structure in Ilorin, they were using Islam as the main push. Or rather, the relationship was between Afonja and the Jama. And the Jama had others who were not Fulani. Do you get what I'm saying? I hope everybody understands. Right? So essentially, you have different ethnicities that form the Jama. But bàtàn conquer la máa pè bàtàn tó gbalẹ̀ ló tó become clear ló tó jẹ́ ká àwọn tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí mọ̀ pé ok àwọn tó ń ṣe kinní yìí o ìkànnì sọ̀rọ̀ pé wọ́n jẹ́ Jama wọ́n lè jagun o. There is an ethnic undertone which have become so the entire thing was a Fulani project. So what is doing basically is essentially someone says Oyo was an empire, so most of the Fulanis and Hausas at this period were citizens of the empire. Thank you very much, Prof. Exactly. So they were already there and they could fight, and that's why he decided to work with them. Anyway, let's continue. Afonja did not eat. Oh, no. Afonja put his trust in them at the expense of his own warriors, unbeknown to him that Alimi had another motive, which was to take over Ilorin from him. Oderinlo was amongst the warlords who alerted Afonja to the secret plans of Alimi and the excesses of the Fulani. Afonja did not heed the warning of his people and allowed Alimi to witch hunt some of his Yoruba warriors by picking them up at parade for planning evil. Many promising warriors fell in this way. However, by the time Afonja realized his folly, it was too late to amend as some of his Yoruba warriors had been reduced in number either by assassination or left for another town. Oderinlo survived the assassination and was among the few Yoruba soldiers that fought alongside Afonja to checkmate the Ilorin army. Alimi had the support also from the Sokoto Caliphate and from Hausa slaves that left Oyo. The forces were too much for Afonja's regiment. Afonja put up a spirited effort, but the Yoruba general was falling. In 1824, Afonja was assassinated after a gruesome battle in which there was a great casualty on both sides, but more casualties on the Yoruba side. In the heat of the battle, Afonja sent emissaries to most Yoruba warlords to help him, but they turned him down since he had severed his relationship with them and failed to honor them when his sun was shining. The Fulani were ably assisted by their Fulani leaders in Sokoto. Afonja put his trust in the Fulani and paid with his life. He was betrayed. That was the end of Afonja, a great Yoruba general. The way he's writing as if he's writing for secondary school kids. That was the end of Afonja, a great Yoruba general. Alimi's son became Emir of Ilorin. Ilorin thereafter became an emirate of the Sokoto Caliphate. It was at this time, when Ilorin fell into the hands of the Fulani and the Yoruba became second-class citizens, that Oderinlo, who with the stroke of luck got his break to leave Ilorin. It was during further onslaught of Yoruba warriors by the Fulani that he escaped with some members of his family to Olukpono. Olukpono is very close to Iwo town, now in Osun State of Nigeria. Excuse me. It was during further onslaught of Yoruba warriors by the Fulani that that's Oderinlo, escaped with some members of his family to Olukpono. Olukpono is very close to Iwo town, now in Osun State of Nigeria. Olukpono is about 130 miles, about 215 kilometers from Ilorin. The journey was made by foot and horses, as there were no vehicles in those days. Oderinlo was a revolutionary who was not happy with the new arrangement in which Yoruba became subservient to the Fulani. He was equally angry with the excessive behavior of the Fulani who were intoxicated by the new power. He was also a target of the Fulani as they believed it was extremely dangerous. He was therefore marked for extermination. The assassination of Afonja was made difficult for Fulani because of that broken relationship with his Oyo Empire and lots of his officers in the witch hunting orchestrated by me. Oderinlo took his family, comprising some of his friends and some of those who were fed up with the new arrangements at Olupono. As at that time, his mother and father died. He also left some of his family members and adult children at Ajagba. The descendants are still there till today. The current Baale of Ajagba in Ilorin, Chief Sulaiman Oyawale Olarinwa, is a descendant of Oderinlo. That was quite cool. Olarinwa, Oderinlo. Some Yoruba people and warriors who survived the war made peace with the new emir and promised their allegiance to him. Some of them later joined forces with the new emir and raided some Yoruba towns. From this time, the Fulani of Ilorin, ably supported by the Sokoto Caliphate, made it their prime target to capture all the Yoruba towns, and with a promise to dip the Quran into the Atlantic Ocean. Many attacks were made by the Fulani of Ilorin to capture other Yoruba towns, and at the time, nearly succeeded. They captured many Yoruba towns and made their kings to pay tribute to them. It was for a short time. The ancestors of the Yoruba, however, rose to the challenge. That's the end of chapter 3. Chapter 4 talks about the Olupono days, and then talks about the movement to Ibadan, and chapter 5, historic Ibadan, and so on and so forth. Where we are really going is the war that they fought. That will come much later. So maybe we're going to continue from here tomorrow. I was going to actually go into into the coup of 1966 tomorrow, but I think we just finished this book, so we all know that story very well. I don't want to tell the story. I want us to read together, so that way we actually know that we are reading. Even if I'm the one reading it out, at least we're all following. All right? Maybe it's a better way it's another way. It's not a better way. It's another way. We don't want to use just one way of communicating. So we'll be here again tomorrow. We're going to continue from here. We'll finish up the stuff. And then maybe by Wednesday or Thursday, we'll get back into there's something I wanted to read from the British archives on the stuff that happened during the coup, during the first coup. I like to talk about the first coup because I think it's the foundation of many Parakpara, and we need to understand how things went down during that period. But we also need to understand Yoruba history, and we also need to understand our valiant men and women and the things they did in time past to inspire us for today and tomorrow. So thanks so much for being part of today's session. We're going to be here tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll do this and then we'll take some news. But by the time we are done, you know Oderinlo very well, and you also know about the wars happening in battle. If I have to, I stopped myself today, but if I have to, I will refer to other books, but I may not, because I want it to be like a story. Which is why I found it funny when I was reading this book. I thought the writing was a bit juvenile, but maybe the man wrote it because he wanted young people. People at any stage to be able to read and understand. So, and it's a good book. It's a very good book. So we'll continue tomorrow, and then we'll move on to other things afterwards. So thank you very much for being part of this session. If you're coming here for the first time, all right, my name is Busuyoris. You can see it up there. Okay. We discuss here. We meet every day, every weekday, Mondays to Fridays, 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time, and we discuss history, culture, politics, and innovation. So we will be here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time, to continue with this series. I will also read, we'll also get into some news, but I want us to finish this book so I can go into other things soon. I hope Martution is here because he's the one that's been telling us that we must read Balogun Oderinlo. I hope he's here. And I said one of these days, hopefully before the end of August, we're going to start Kiriji. We're not going to use this time for Kiriji. I'll be telling the story. I'll be reading different books because Kiriji is more complex. All right. Yes, there will be news tomorrow as well. You like news, so there's. My sister used to say something funny. when we're growing. It wasn't when I was even growing up. Where at the Dagbagon said, go back from school, me, I'll sit down and be watching news. She now say, Integbela no kill vision. Like, how can you celebrate? How can ignorance be this blissful for you? That's what I used to think. She's older. I was going, you just your question, my born is my born. Into Bola no kill vision. I can't tell my mom don't shell grow up. So I'm a don't shell. And then says that's where the Gbasgbos comes from. Jesus is Lord. Do I do Gbasgbos like that? I try not to, but you know. The show can come on. Anyway, let's call it a day. Thank you everybody for being here. Thanks for being, a wonderful audience across all platforms. Thanks for the power tapping on TikTok. Thanks for liking the live on YouTube and on Facebook. Please subscribe on YouTube and also subscribe on TikTok. All right. Although subscribing on TikTok means you're supporting us financially. There's a way TikTok does their own. So please support and also give gifts, right? From time to time, bring up the account details, but I just think that we should, by the way, let me thank those who actually gave gifts because it's important. So everybody who supported today, T Dan, I saw you a number of times, and others who I may not remember, whose name I may not remember right now. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for your generosity. Every heart you gave, every coin, every rose, everything does a lot because this things help the life itself so people see what's happening. It also helps, the person we're speaking. Olowoduru says, Lagos State governorship candidate sponsors a part of Masoyinbo, and that's a good way to send message. Hamzat. Yeah. By the way, we're going to start our game show during our summit in September. So from October, we'll start airing on YouTube. But I'm very happy that that's happening. It's a good way to support. It's good to support. It's a very beautiful game show. So I like the fact that the incoming governor, I don't like to call him candidate. I like the man. So I'm hoping. I pray he wins. I think he will. I won't say I'm sure, but you know how politics is. But I'd rather call him the incoming governor. So it's good that he's supporting programs like that. All right, and hopefully we're going to have folks get on with our summit as well, and also the programs and the shows when we start. It's going to be really lovely. When we start the game show to cover Yoruba culture, Yoruba history, Nigerian history, Nigerian politics, and things about innovation as well. That's what the game show will cover. You make more money as you go, and then you can multiply your money, and then you can also divide your money or subtract from the money. There's a way. The format is different from any game show you've seen. We've tried it here before. We have a pilot on YouTube, by the way, on Radio Me Republic. We're calling it something different, by the way. It's a mix of Yoruba and English. But that will be in September, all right? I'll let you know, as we get closer to the date. But it's going to happen in Lagos, so please, let's work towards it. All right. Thank you very much for being part of today's session. I'll see you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time. Do have a lovely, lovely evening. But before we go, we're going to have our anthems, the Nigerian anthem and the Yoruba anthem. Wait, I've not read the comments on you. Oh, okay. It's something about the Aole thing that people wrote there. Thank you very much, Steve Lemon on YouTube and Abigail Ajayi on YouTube as well. Thank you very much. Taiwo Toluwalashe, thank you. Dan Omo, thank you. Everyone, thank you so much. Great nation, thanks a lot. All right, let's call it a day by playing our anthems. First, Nigerian anthem, and then the Yoruba anthem. Please sing along.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. The tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve our sovereign mother.
Mẹ́wàá. Ìgbàgbọ́ ìwé láti bẹ̀rù làpọ̀ mọ́. Ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́ ká jọlá. Ìṣọ̀kan àtòmìnira ni ẹ jẹ́ ká máa lépa. Tẹ̀síwájú ọ̀pọ̀ ìwé àtòhun tó dára. Ọmọ òòjọ́ dìde bọ́ sípò ẹ̀tọ́ rẹ. Ìwọ ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ gbogbo adúláwọ̀.
Àwa ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ ògo adúláwọ̀, ìmọ́lẹ̀ wò ní wọ́kùn lágbára Ọlọ́run. Ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ò ní bàjẹ́ o, a máa gbèrú ni, Nàìjíríà náà ní dàrú. Gbogbo nǹkan tó bá dáwọ́lé, a máa yọrí sí rere ni. Gbogbo iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ wa, àwọn ẹbí wa, ará wa, Ọlọ́run bá tọ́jú ilé wa, tọ́jú ọ̀nà wa lágbára Ọlọ́run. Ilé ìnílé wa, ọ̀nà ìná wa, nǹkan tó bá dáwọ́lé, a máa yọrí sí rere. May God bless you. May God cause His face to shine upon you. May God favor you, the work of your hands. God bless your family. God bless Nigeria, our country, and God bless Yoruba land, our nation. Thank you so much for being part of today's session. I'll see you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time. Do have a lovely, lovely evening, and Udaro. Esho.